take projection.
Welcome everybody to Taking on Sports. I am TD. That is Greg. Greg, how you doing, man?
Man, doing all right. Been a long week. Heat, AC is finally gone, done. So we either have to get a top and fix our fan ourselves or get a new system. We're going to try to see if we can get the blower motor, a new blower motor, and the top on the outside if at all possible. Should save a lot of money if we can.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our goal. If we can do that, I mean, that might be a couple $100, but it might be worth it. Give us a little more time rather than finance some for 10 right now. Other than
I tell you.
yeah, other than that, it's been a good week. I mean, my son's football, junior high football started, so something new for him. First time he's really ever played, and first time he ever wanted to himself. I really never ever tried to force him to play football, but
Mm-hmm.
he actually wanted to see about playing. So I was like, cool. So he's doing that for seventh grade right now. It's all about first part conditioning. So a lot of running has been going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Man, I used to hate that, and I didn't play football in high school. I played hockey, and we had our one assistant coach. It was the same thing. Yeah, those first few weeks of practice,
yeah.
it was like, all right, it's Coach Jim today. We're like, and he just be, leave your sticks on the bench, boys. We're skating.
I
Like
mean,
shit,
yeah,
nothing but. A little different though, being out in that heat on them
yeah, yeah.
that football conditioning though.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's junior high. A lot of them it's their first time playing. They
Mm-hmm.
only have a week really to come up with a JV and a varsity team. So I don't know how they're exactly it's all going to work out. But I think if anything, it's good just to get people
Mm-hmm.
to playing as a team. Learning responsibility as a team. And just see where it goes from there. If anything, they learn about the game and see if they like it to go further on. Take from playing
Yeah.
hockey for
Yeah.
some. Worst case scenario, they get in shape.
There. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
Uh, learn how to sweat a little bit. But
yeah,
yeah, let's. Of course, this is our big SEC and Alabama preview.
yeah,
Um, always probably our favorite episode to do every year.
yeah.
Or at least the one where we talk the most because we know the
Well,
most about it.
right, absolutely.
But before we get to that, I guess a couple quick things to go over. I guess the biggest news story of the week in sports: Russell Westbrook retired.
Every time.
Hall of Famer, one of the better offensive players of our generation, a triple double machine.
He was Mr. He
Um,
averaged that triple double was it 2016 when he was the MVP of the league,
yeah, 16 or 17, one of those two. Yeah.
which is
And
crazy.
a guy with a kind of a weird legacy. I don't know. I feel like there's like probably a decent contingent of folks that really don't think he's as good as he is, and I think he deserves a future Hall of Famer, no doubt. To me, like I said, one of the better offensive players of his generation.
Absolutely.
But sometimes, I think with KD splitting off and
Yeah,
him Russ
kind of.
never wouldn't,
Right.
never really getting that title and never really finding a place to latch on after that.
Yeah.
Um,
Kind of hurts his legacy. I mean, he's always kind of in KD's shadow. Honestly,
mhm,
probably one of my favorite players that won
mhm.
the Maverick or had no correlation with my team. I
Yeah.
just, if anything, you knew he was going to be energetic. He's going to have a
Mhm,
lot of passion. Sometimes it did not. Sometimes he would shoot himself out the gym. He'd
mhm,
shoot him out of a
mhm,
game sometimes. But when he was on, he's special. Um, and honestly, and then he, really became kind of a almost a good guy face of the, after KD left, and he said, "Hey, I'm gonna
mhm.
stick it out with the Thunder." He was there for a couple more seasons, and that really, I don't know, that really seemed to. But he's always in KD's leg, kind of in his shadows, and people are, yeah. And then after OKC, I mean, he had some okay run, but nothing really the same after that. I don't know if it was him, where he was going. He's a player that really doesn't fit in everybody's system. It has to be the right
Mhm.
for him. And he was a Laker that really didn't go well. That's a lot of people have gone to LA and just haven't fared well. But
Yeah, it's especially in this like post Kobe era.
yeah, it's kind of
No, and
run, and that really didn't go really well because both of them had to have the ball. And it was
mhm.
kind of good. It sounds good, but I don't know, it just didn't really match.
Y- Yeah, it's hard to get that to work over the course of an NBA season. It's one thing when you get those guys together on like the US team and the Olympics because you can it's a quick tournament. They all can just kind of get their bit and they kind of sacrifice a little bit more than they do in the
Right,
league. But yeah, Russ will go down definitely as one of the best ever to never get a ring.
right.
Kind of crazy to me too. Him and he's a little bit younger than but like Carmelo. Because in that same group, a guy just an absolute offensive talent, just could
Mhm.
score. When he was on, it was watching poetry.
And he was one of those
But
guys that got better in the pros than he ever was in college. He was cool in college, but got so much better in the NBA. I
yeah,
mean,
absolutely, yeah,
I mean,
um,
because he did have what they did go with back to back Final Fours with him and Kevin Love back in the day.
yeah, yeah. That's he on that team that we lost to in like '06 or something.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah, around the 32.
uh, yeah. When Ron Steele tried his best, but just didn't have the legs,
I'm up
man.
a little short.
Yeah, but yeah, it was a big one. Of course, everything else going on preseason NFL. You just kind of watching and praying that you don't get a big injury.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
been
we,
some
we,
though. We've had
yeah,
quite a
there's
few
been
people
some for sure. Yeah.
take some spills. Nothing overly major, but you see a lot of running backs out right now. And you're like, ooh.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I know the Ravens. I haven't read about it, but one of our centers went down with a patella tendon injury today. So that's never good when you little skimpy on center to begin with.
yeah. And
But
then I know the
yeah,
Cowboys Saints got in a big fight.
yeah, man, a lot of fines being thrown out for that big old brawl.
But I think
That
it's a mistake to put those two together. We talked about in the past, Darwin and New Orleans just don't mix.
Do not, man. Like I said, like that was one thing. If I were commissioner, I would absolutely realign the NFL and put those two in a division because I
Oh,
want to see that game twice a year.
yeah.
That's like those franchises. It don't matter. Like when you put on that uniform, it's just like you automatically like hate the other one,
Oh, yeah.
and like the cities don't like each other. Like like New Orleans and Houston got kind of a kinship going, but like
New
nah,
Orleans and
they're
Dallas, like oil
nah,
and water, man. That's just
don't mix.
whatever
But
reason, the animosity is deep.
it is. It's crazy. You had Fernando Mendoza throwing a pick six tonight in his first preseason action.
Yeah,
Uh, but yeah, other than that, it's preseason NFL. You like I said, you just hope first and foremost nobody gets hurt,
yeah,
and then your second thing is you hope uh, you just kind of want to see the rookies play good. You want to see those like second and third year guys, take a roster spot. You want to see the
right.
big jumps. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Honestly, I don't watch a lot of preseason. Honestly, I
No.
mean, I watch
No.
highlights, read about it, but I'm just like, because I mean, it only I don't know. It's not all
Yeah.
my biggest interest, other than unless it's somebody you know. But you're gonna see it regard. I mean, if it's some big name person, you're gonna find out regardless.
Yeah, you'll catch a highlight. Yeah, I might, if it's like on and I'm not,
Yeah,
watching anything else, I might, especially like if it's
right.
the Ravens or something, might watch a drive or two to see like, all right, what were the
Exactly.
young guys looking like? But
Yeah.
I mean, right now they got that Raiders and I don't even know who they're playing on, but I got a high school game on here. It's kickoff week here in Alabama high school ball. So
Yeah, I'm watching
um
WNBA action on Prime right
yeah,
now. It's watching the Dallas team beat Indiana tonight, which was a
mm,
big win for them.
yeah,
Uh,
tough loss for them
Ozzy Flood out for
recently.
the year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but she's been out for a little bit. But yeah, it sucks considering they're
Mm,
right now in the eighth seed in the playoffs. Probably still going to make the playoffs because the lead they
mm.
have, but it's going to be a hard. Yeah, they're probably not getting out definitely not getting out the first round without her
Mm.
availability.
Nah, yeah, it's tough right there. A lot to put on Paige Beckers too.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, elsewhere, let's see. You got your
Good news.
Pennant race is starting to take shape in baseball as we get toward the end of August and head toward the last month. A big debut, the other record breaking one for the Cardinals. Josh Baez, 3 home runs in his major league
That,
debut, first time
that's
ever.
that's amazing.
Yeah, that's special. That's
That's
yeah.
something you'll never forget. If you don't remember anything about forget
hmm
anything about your career, that first day, boom,
I'd bet say yeah. Even if you don't do much the rest of your career, that's something you can say. Like, hey, I took three out the yard.
out the yard of my
Um,
first game. That's amazing
mhm,
in
yeah,
itself.
but as you look as yeah, the race is taking shape in the AL. You know, the everybody's chasing Tampa Bay, best record in
So,
baseball. I think. Oh no, that's still Milwaukee.
Milwaukee,
But
so
definitely the AL. Yeah, your Yanks four behind them. You got the White Sox leading the Central, crazy there. Astros have come back after a horrible start. They lead the West. And that wild card, your Yanks and the Red Sox, far and away,
yeah,
probably
above.
almost guaranteed 1 and 2 wild card
Yeah,
spots. And a big race after that. The Twins right now have a half game on Toronto and Texas, and then
Cleveland is on one,
Cleveland, yeah, only one back, and then you got Detroit,
one
Baltimore,
and a half.
even and Seattle, all within 3 games.
All within
Yeah, so
striking range. So yeah, it's gonna be a
yeah,
nice little run to the
yeah,
final.
little race there over in the NL. The Braves still up 5 on the Phillies. Phillies surging right now, 6 in a row, 8-2. So they're trying to climb back as the Braves are struggling a little bit. Lost 3 of the last 4 series. Good win today though. Got a good performance. Grant Holmes took a no into the 7th.
Nice.
Brewers, we mentioned, best record in baseball. They're up 5 on the Cubs. Dodgers, second best record. They've opened up a 9 game lead on San Diego out west. And that wild card race is also pretty good. I don't think there's as many teams in it, but it's still a pretty good race. You got the Cubs up there, pretty comfortable up there. Then the Phillies, 2 games ahead of that last spot, which the Padres have. And then you got Arizona, St. Louis, and Miami all within 4 games. And you even got
Or
the Pirates there at 5.5 back, kind of hanging around.
kind of there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, should be a good stretch run here. Same thing there. You just kind of hope nobody gets injured. You hope you get some injured guys to come back, um, help out there. Um, I know your Yanks waiting for guys. I saw Max Fried went
Man,
back on the IL.
yeah,
Yeah.
if we could just get healthy at some
hmm
point. I mean, Aaron Judge's been out forever.
hmm
Um, so everybody, all the stars are out right now. This is crazy.
hmm It's tough, yeah. But
Just come
I guess
back
the
regular
only
season.
other thing I had in my notes for news this week was the Jaden Daniels. Definitely a misfire. I don't know who on his team told him that was a good idea to
Not a
go
great
after
idea.
LSU for letting people wear his number and all that. But man,
Yeah.
everybody made fun of him this week. I mean, everybody.
They definitely misread the room on this
Yeah.
one. I mean, I get where you're coming from, and I get you won the Heisman, and you're big. I mean, a hell of a season. That technically, and his stat wise is better than Joe Burrow. If you look at just
Mm-hmm.
stats alone, of course, he didn't have near the talent around him, or
Mm-hmm.
definitely not the defense. The defense screwed him every week.
And that's one thing I get because I've seen some people out there being like, "Look, Joe Burrow brought a national title. Look at the records." Da, da, da. I'm like, all right, you can't put that on Jaden because
Yeah,
those defenses were atrocious.
yeah.
Like we talked about it during his season. Jaden Daniels was literally putting up video game numbers. Not that that's an overused term, but
Had
man,
to.
dude was throwing 300 yards and running for 200. Like it's ridiculous.
He was
Um,
had wild numbers, and the crazy thing, often those he had to have that to get the win.
yeah, and sometimes barely, you
Yeah,
know. But yeah, just man, he needs to fire his people for that because
that's not a good look. And, a lot of
that's
people
not.
think that was on his mom because she has control
Mm,
of this stuff. Not a good look at all. Everybody's had a good joke with it. I mean, obviously, you would think down the road, it'll get fixed, but yeah, not a good thing. Not a good thing. I
mhm,
mean, you got to look at it. I mean, people aren't going to forget who Jaden Daniels is. Whether he's wearing a five or not. I mean, there's plenty of
Hmm.
other schools that haven't necessarily uh, retired that maybe have as good a career. So,
Hmm.
and and also in today's NIL world, if some dude, that cornerback, hell of a cornerback, gets offered a
Hmm.
fight, you got to understand, unfortunately, that's something that's going to have, even if it was on a previous coaching staff, it kind of sound like a Brian Kelly situation. Uh,
Yeah.
but you don't know what was said, exactly what was promised, because he didn't wear five last year. He wore seven and back to five this year. So I don't know
Mm.
exactly, but dude, just let it ride. Like it's okay.
Yeah, and it's so hard in college, and not a lot of schools retire numbers unless it's just like an absolutely outstanding player.
But
But I mean, you
100.
got to think roster. There's no cap to roster sizes, so you got more. I mean, you got guys. One guy on defense, one guy on offense were in the same number in the same season, so it's
Yeah,
hard to retire numbers
it
in
is.
college game. And Alabama doesn't retire numbers, and it's
There's plenty of
kind of
clip.
a yeah, it's kind of a point of pride. Like if you're an Alabama quarterback and you wear 12, it's like a big deal,
Yeah, it's
You
kind of
got
like '88 with the Cowboys. I mean, you always
exactly, yeah. I was gonna say, yeah. Michael Irvin had like one of the best responses to this thing, where he basically said like, he's like, I don't want my number retired. He's like, I want, you see CD Lamb out there, he's in typical Michael Irvin fashion, great, but he was like, out there and say he drops a ball, what people say? They go, Mike wouldn't have dropped that, like.
yeah,
But
yeah,
no, it does. It's kind of like, like I said, like in the college games, kind of numbers mean something. 12 as if you're a quarterback at Alabama, Michigan if you wear the one as a receiver, it means something.
mhm,
A lot of programs have something like that. So
exactly.
um, yeah, miscalculation on his team's part. But let's get to the meat of this episode, our Alabama and SEC preview. Of course, let's start with our beloved Tide. Year three of the Kalen DeBoer era, of course, made the playoffs last year. Great comeback in Norman to win that one, then slaughtered in the Rose Bowl by eventual national champion Indiana. So not the way you want to end the year, but overall, if you look at it, I mean, 11 win season, first team to win a road game in a 12-team playoff era. Um,
The Rose Bowl. I mean,
yeah, yeah. SEC title game appearance. Had a great run in the middle of the season. Beat what was it, five straight ranked opponents.
yeah, great. The
Uh,
October was the strength of
yeah,
the season there. And
yeah,
then, kind of whether one way or another, Ty would at some point got hurt, and things just
yeah.
went for him after that. You can say, "Oh, that's an excuse," but you could tell there was definitely a difference in how Ty Simpson played uh,
Hmm.
in November.
Yeah, but let's looking ahead to this season. Let's start on offense. Of course, Kalen DeBoer, an offensive coach. Ryan Grubb back calling plays. But of course, the big changes on offensive line. Adrian Clem comes in
Yeah,
to coach the offensive line.
the
I'm
offensive
blanking
line.
on yeah, uh,
I
blanking
was,
on the tight end coach's name, but they brought him in too, and he's a very important. A lot. I've seen a lot of praise for him, and that he'll also have the tight ends blocking. Of course,
right,
losing a guy like Josh Cuevas hurts. He's now in Baltimore, playing on Sundays. But
yeah. So
uh, my main thing for the offense is just a lot of unknowns this year. Um, Starting with quarterback, of course, we're starting to see reports where we think we know.
it's looking like
Uh,
Elon.
yeah, looking like Keelan, which I think we both agree with. But that's the first question. Do you go with a guy like Austin Mack, who's been in the system for 4 years now, maybe more dependable and consistent? Or do you go with the 5 star, the talent? Maybe guy gives you a little bit more playmaking ability, even if you get some ebbs and flows with it.
Right.
But yeah, I think you're with me and agree that Keelan is probably going to be the right call.
I mean, we kind of thought that the whole time. I mean,
Hmm.
when you bring in a 5-star guy like that, I mean, you bring him in to be the starter at some point. And I get Austin Mack's also a good player. But I've always felt, when they re-signed, when they gave him, brought him back after last season, he came back and probably got bumping on the NIL pay. I was like, man, there's no way you can't have Keelan Russell be this. Can't be the. He has to be the starter. And really, I mean, I don't think you really could go wrong either. I don't think there's a wrong answer. I just think Keeneland's a better answer.
Hmm.
I think both
Yeah,
have
exactly.
talent and
Yeah, I think his dual threat ability gives us another dimension to the offense. Watching him
the
throw
line.
the ball, um, he's got just some pop on that the
Beautiful spiral.
pass.
The spiral has been beautiful.
Yeah.
And a little mobility definitely helps the line. As they continue
Mhm.
to gel. But and that's the biggest question in the line play. And honestly, the line has not been consistent for a long time. Even
Mhm.
even at the end of Saban, we could go during Saban. At the end of the Saban tenure, the line was okay. It wasn't like it was in the, you know, 2011 through like 2016
Mhm.
type of lines. I mean, there were some holes. I mean, there were times when that's why Jalen Milroe was made the quarterback because he can make things
Mhm.
happen. um, but what I do like about this is it seems like they have their type of linemen that they want that fit with
Mhm.
their offensive style. They're still continue to, still come together, but but I think it fits more the style that Kalen DeBoer wants to have,
Mhm.
and I think that's the most important thing. Maybe not. We've had maybe more stars at times in the past, but as a cohesive unit, it's been all over the place. And I think the more we just need a more cohesive unit. Maybe not necessarily a big name, but just a cohesive unit. Though there could be some big game names on there, but I think it's just not. If we can get a cohesive unit and figure out who the starters are, that we're not switching things in November.
Yeah, that was really annoying last year. Yeah, how often we rotated that line, that starting lineup, and it's one thing to get a little rotation during the game to
A
get some
breather.
breathers, keep guys healthy. But yeah, you want to find your five and you want to stick with them, and
Yeah.
so hopefully we get there. And the big thing is hopefully run the ball. And there's some reports coming out this week that everything's looking good. We're looking a lot more aggressive. We're getting to the second, third level, running through guys. Um,
I mean, there is, of
uh,
course, AK Deers out at least
mhm.
6 weeks because of
6 weeks with his injury, yeah, which
he's getting
hurts, and
a tightrope. He's in the tightrope surgery or whatever. Or is that
yeah, and
thing
then
it's
that
called?
ankle, and
Yeah,
then EJ Crowell keeps kind of staying banged up. So you hope that's not going to be a bad
consistent.
omen for his career. You hope he's not going to be a kind of a guy who's plagued by injuries, but hopefully it's just adjusting to the bigger size of college guys.
Right.
But I am higher than a lot of people I think are on our running back room. I think
I think it's a great
Daniel
one.
Hill.
I
Yeah,
think
we love Daniel Hill. I think EJ Crow is going to be the truth. There were reports last year, guys,
healthy.
saying that he could have started in the Oklahoma game in the playoff if Alabama had him on the roster.
Right.
We mentioned AK Deer, he's got to get healthy, but we got a guy like Kevin Riley back there too. So there's talent in that backfield. If we can keep some of that depth.
Got to keep them healthy as much as
Mhm.
possible. We got to open the polls for them, though. It doesn't matter who's back there if you can't open the
Yeah.
polls.
Yeah,
Also,
you
you can't get
go
a
ahead.
if something goes wrong, you can't necessarily. If it doesn't work right away, don't completely get away from the run game. You got to get back to
Yeah.
it at some point.
Mhm.
Yeah, you still got to. It does. We understand we're not 2011 Alabama. It's not gonna be Trent Richardson or Derrick Henry 40 times. We
Mhm.
get that, but you got to have some running. You can't limit yourself that much where everybody knows what's gonna happen.
Mhm.
That's kind of been our problem at times. People figure us out, and that's
Ye
why I think everybody's it's a big year. Kevin DeBoer. I think the biggest thing is Ryan Grubb. This is his big season.
Mhm. Mhm.
We expect the big things. We've seen it at times, bits and pieces, but not consistently. At times he gets very much the same. People figure it out, And it
Hmm.
seems like at times if one of his little trick things don't go right, it implodes.
Yeah, man, we need the trick plays are great when they work, but yeah, I think we went to that well a little too often to try to get stuff going last year. So hopefully, yeah, the run game,
Like
if it's
the
improved, hopefully you don't need the trick plays as much, and they're a good change of pace to catch teams off guard. And like you said, you just got to keep plugging away at the run, and obviously you can't just keep running into the line for a half a yard and punt every time, but you need to keep defensive honest, so the passing game can open up. That's part of the problem. After that great October run last year, it's kind of teams were like, they can't run the ball, so we're going to sit back, and they put it all on Ty Simpson. And like you said, he was hurt, and line had trouble keeping him clean, and toward the end of the year, it didn't look great. So, yeah, but yeah, got to keep the defensive honest, and if we can just, we don't need to have the best running attack in the country. Obviously, we'll take that, but we just need. I
least
think back. Do you remember the first drive of last year against Florida State when we lined up under center and ran the ball? It was a beautiful drive. We just need that, be able to run the ball enough to get the play action to work, because it's a big part of the Grub and DeVore offense, and take pressure off of Russell or Mack, whoever the quarterback is throwing the ball. And also, if we can run with the running backs, and that makes a running quarterback that much more dangerous.
exactly.
It just everything starts at the run in football. And
And
if you can do that, yeah.
we have to be better than 104 yards a game. I think that's what we averaged last year. Has to
Yeah,
be better.
yeah, we were what, 129th in the country. You got to be better. You just got to be, and with as good as we think our defense could be, and we'll get to them in a bit. You just need
A little
to
bit.
be better than average on offense, probably, or at least a better than average running game,
Yeah.
and even an average running game if we can throw the ball.
Right. I think
Uh,
we know we have the receivers. I mean, obviously,
I, yeah, and that's where I was going next. Yeah, what do you think of our receiving room?
I mean, we know when he's on. Ryan, what Coleman Williams now is still one of the best wide receivers in America.
Mm-hmm.
He had a down season last year, had some drop issues. Still almost had 700 yards in the down season.
I would say a down season that really wasn't a bad sophomore season. He just kind of dropped to the number two role behind Jeremy Bernard, and
You know, I had some
there's
frustrating drops, and
of course, absolutely, got to get rid of them.
that's the main thing for me. Get rid of the drops. If you don't have those drops, his averages go up. People are happy with them. I think that's what people think of the most. I mean, some people think he's soft or whatever. He just has to. I would say just go play football. You don't have to explain yourself all the time. He
Hmm.
expected, so I'm gonna do better this week. You don't necessarily have to say anything to anybody. You don't know that. You don't have to give people explanations. I know people want to hear it, but sometimes they get you in
Hmm.
trouble. I would just say go out there, perform. It seems like he had some mental things going on last year, maybe some off the field stuff that I wasn't aware of. It seems like but we know how good he can be. Just eliminate the drops and just be the leader of you're the one of the older dudes now. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, they're looking for you to be that guy. Obviously, we're gonna miss Jeremy Bernard. I mean, that dude was the heart and soul of the team last year on the offensive end.
Hmm.
There was a big moment
And
with
such
Bernard making the play. um,
Yeah, such a weapon, so versatile too. I mean,
was
how many big plays did he make last year? But yeah, with Hollywood. I mean, the one thing I hate too is all these people that want him to transfer. Da da da. I'm like, man, the one
fine.
thing you couldn't knock was his effort, because if you watch the tape, he was out there, he was throwing blocks, he was trying, he was going over the middle in some of
Yeah,
these games and getting lit up.
yeah.
And
Effort
he's
was there.
apparently put on about 20 pounds this
Yeah.
year. So,
I'm telling you, it was
yeah,
just if he cuts on the drops, everything else would be fine.
and maybe, one of the things that you could knock Ty Simpson on was his deep ball was not great. He was not an accurate deep ball thrower. And,
No,
Hollywood's a stretch the field over the top guy. So if we can get back,
for that.
we've seen Keelan's arm. If we can get Hollywood back to a deep threat, and all these other guys. I mean, it's a great.
Obviously,
I'm with you. I love our room. We got
I like
lots of your Brooks.
he's been a little
Rico
banged up,
Scott.
but that's the main
Yeah.
thing. Stay healthy. I mean, Brooks has been a little
Hmm.
banged up. Rico Scott. I mean, we've
Hmm.
seen moments from him. I think he's a talented dude. Like I like our
Hmm.
room. We're just gonna miss. Jeremy Bernard and then Josh Cuevas. We're gonna miss him.
Big time. Yeah, we need a big guy to step up. Sadari Morgan getting a lot of good reviews too in
Oh,
camp. A
yeah,
big 6'4" guy. And then Caleb Edwards is probably going to be our starter at tight end.
yeah,
Um, so we're hoping he could come in and if these it's young, Noah Rogers. Unfortunately, he
yeah.
got hurt in springtime, so he's going to be out for a little bit to start the season. But if he could come back at some point,
Just give us,
I loved his tape from NC State. Uh,
just give us a little something. I mean, if he can give us
mm-hmm.
40 here,
Yeah.
50 yards here. I mean, I don't think we necessarily need him to
Mm-hmm.
be a 100-yard receiver every week. But yeah, if he can get us a cool 40, 50 a game, I think that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of all we need from
No,
him.
he's another guy with a little bit of size there,
Yeah,
6'2". But yeah, it all starts with the offensive line. And if,
exactly.
the offensive line can open up running lanes, protect the quarterback, then, that gives Keelan Russell time to get
Yeah,
into the flow of, the
absolutely.
speed. That gives the running backs time to, you want it's great to have a room. You do want one of those guys to take charge and, really become the lead back there. You want, like we said, you want Hollywood to get his swagger back.
Hmm.
And you want those other guys, Brooks really emerged as a star toward
Yeah,
the end of last season. You want him to keep developing.
and some big catches in the
You,
OU game.
yeah, yeah, we're young, but there's a lot of talent on this team. People, you can knock Kane on the board for certain things. You cannot knock his recruit, and he has had a couple of great classes so far
Yeah,
um, coming in. So we'll see. I think that we're going to be better on offense than people are expecting. I think year
I,
three with the
I
bore.
think so because I mean, at
Uh,
this
yeah.
point, it's mainly
Hmm.
his people in there. I mean, he's got the quarterbacks
Hmm.
he wants. He has the offensive lineman he wants. He has, I think, the wide receivers he wants, the running back he wants. So
Hmm.
this is, more or less his people. So yeah, I mean, in year three, it's his people, his systems in place. Yeah, this is the year you kind of the talent's there. Can they gel? Can they coexist for
Hmm.
3 months?
Absolutely. On the flip side, defense should be a strength again. Surprisingly, like we said, we got an offensive coach, but our defense, pretty much after that Vanderbilt game and a couple years ago, when everybody was calling for Womack's head, defense buckled down. And last year they were the strength of the team.
They were
This year coming in, we might have the best secondary in the country, certainly in the discussion.
absolutely
Um, so many guys coming back, so huge. Yanze Pierre coming back on the edge. He could really become the next great Bama pass rusher.
right.
Solid linebacking, not spectacular linebacking crew, but don't need to be in the system.
Hmm.
Um, really the only questions on defense are, can those new guys on the line, can they gel quickly and can they stop the run? We need to be better at stopping the run than we were last
Yeah.
year. Particularly those big running plays. Got gashed a lot on the ground for some big plays
20,
last
30,
year.
boom, boom. Yeah.
Yeah, and then can we bring early intensity? We had this weird thing last year where it would almost be like we needed to get hit in the mouth before the defense woke up and
Uh, have that on.
started playing nasty. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing is the defensive line. Can they can
Mm-hmm.
they be dogs? Can they get pressure early? Can they,
Mm-hmm.
get the quarterback thinking, damn, it might be a long day for me? Because it's been a while
Yeah,
since we
gotta.
had the consistent dogs on the defensive line.
Yeah, not just one star player, but yeah, you forget, when we had Will Anderson on the other side, he had this guy named Dallas Turner
Yeah.
terrorizing folks. We need someone besides Pierre to emerge as a star to get after the quarterback. To if you can get those dual ends coming after you, if you can
Mhm.
get pressure up the middle, if those interior linemen can you know set the line of scrimmage. Don't let the teams get easy 4 or 5 yards running the ball. Really hit them at the line of scrimmage, hit them in the backfield, like force teams into passing downs, like to throw. And like I said,
Yeah.
our secondary's in discussion for best in the country,
Mhm.
man. Bray Hubbard, Keon Sabb, our boy Xavier Brown. It's a great. I mean,
Fantastic.
Dajon Lee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic secondary. But
Uh-huh.
all secondaries are only as good. It's no matter how good your secondary is, you have to get that pass rush in there.
Mm-hmm.
Because if any D1 quarterback, especially in the SEC, gets enough time, of course things are going to break down eventually. That's just the
Mm-hmm.
nature of the beast. But we got it good enough to, as long as we're getting a little bit of pressure, you know, our secondary will be in the right spot. Um, but really, I mean, yeah, our defense, though, people still say, oh, I don't like Womack and I don't like this and I don't like that. It's been our most consistent unit. At times, it's been the thing that's kept us in games. I mean, even, you look at people like, well, we got blown out against Georgia and Indiana. You look at that, the defense was put in terrible positions last year in both those games,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So,
Yeah, absolutely. And part of that is special teams.
right,
Kind of a quiet part to some people. Yeah, we got to get better on special teams.
absolutely.
Punting's got to get better. Our
Absolutely.
punting was terrible last year.
We got to have a boomer, a do consistently booming.
Yeah, flip the field,
Yeah,
pin the other team back, win the field position battle, and that becomes, especially with a good defense, that becomes so huge.
yeah,
Need a consistent kicker to get us three when we need it. Don't
yeah.
miss easy kicks.
Yeah, we don't want to. We don't. You don't want to feel nervous every time he comes out there.
Mhm.
And it's what
It
what's the
was
name?
Connor Talty last year. Uh,
Out to you last year. It's
yeah, brought in Lorcan Quinn from Marshall, I think, is where he came in. Believe he was 21 of 26 last year, the long of 55, and then 38 of 39 on extra points. So, uh, young guy, sophomore, so that's good. Hopefully he can come in and, like we said, just be consistent, make the easy ones. Anything under 40 really you should make, and then punting, just
yeah,
can't shank it. Gotta flip the field when you can, and then gotta pin teams deep
tenfold.
when you get the chance.
Right, absolutely,
Yeah. And
absolutely.
then yeah, it'd be nice if the next great Alabama return man would emerge too. Um,
Wow.
we'll see. Which I'm not really sure who is
Right.
going to be the guy back there, but all right, let's play the schedule game here. Let's look at that. The good news is for all these units that need to gel and these young guys,
God
first
will.
five or so games are
Yeah.
very manageable. Yeah.
You would think so anyway. On paper,
Yeah, you would hope so.
they
On
look
paper,
good.
yeah.
I mean, even what I was saying, even if they didn't, even though it sounds like we know the quarterback situation, you have a couple weeks even to
Mm,
figure that out, where you could definitely feel comfortable that you could play both guys if need be. Against East Carolina, though Kentucky will probably be better this year with it. It seems like they're headed in the right direction again. You feel like you
mhm.
probably uh, could play both there to figure things out. I would really say you would just want to have things kind of figured out before that third week against Florida State.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, East Carolina should be a win, even though it's at Kentucky, and like you said, probably should be a little better. They're also probably going through a transition year. Um,
New coach, new
and
quarterback.
Lexington's a weird place, but that should be a win. And then yeah, revenge game, Florida State. You got to whoop them. Just no
Yeah,
excuses. Thank God Gus Malzahn's retired.
yeah.
No more of that crap.
But yeah, that's when I'm sure it's on everybody's mind. Hopefully, they just don't overthink it. But yeah, you want to come in and you just want to set the tone early and
Mhm,
get the win. Obviously, gonna be a heavy favorite this year as they were last year. But
mhm,
just like last year, I mean, obviously Florida State fell off, but after week one, everybody's, oh my God, Florida State this and Florida State that.
mhm.
So obviously they show that obviously they spent a good amount of time getting ready for that week one. Um,
Yeah, we know the quarterback, Ashton Daniels.
yeah, you know, quite
So
well.
we've seen him, yeah, know him quite well. So Of course, after Florida State, we host South Carolina. Always a tricky team, but it is at home.
But we've
And
had such
we'll get
great, crazy games with them.
yeah, right. We'll get to them, when we talk about the rest of the SEC. But I think they're going to be a little down this year, but we'll see. And then after that, we go to Starkville for State, another team. Probably will be toward the bottom of the SEC.
But
But
that quarterback, he's special.
oh yeah, yeah, we'll get to them. And then after that is when the schedule gets real. October 10th, Georgia comes
Yeah,
to town.
that 3 game
Of course, we
stretch.
know,
Oof.
yeah, brutal, and you could probably even stretch it past that too. But 3 games, yeah, to end October. Georgia, then at Tennessee. We've lost twice in a row up there in Knoxville, so let's end that shit. Um,
I mean,
and then after that, you come back home for homecoming. And it's Texas A&M coming in town. So, yeah, brutal October. That 3 game stretch.
get a
You
little.
get a bye.
Yeah,
Yeah, you get a bye, and then down to Baton Rouge and Lane Kiffin and LSU.
yeah.
And then you follow that up with at Vanderbilt, which is no longer
Who knows what
yeah,
Vanderbilt's
no
going to be
longer
this
a breeze. Yeah,
year? I mean,
who
obviously,
knows? And then of
expectations
course,
aren't as
yeah,
high with Diego Pavia not there
mm,
anymore. But, I mean, you almost feel like the culture's changed, but we'll talk about them. But you feel like there's
yeah, yeah,
a couple of things. You feel like they're made the change for the better. So,
yeah. We'll get there. And of course, Chattanooga,
I
and then in the season with the Iron Bowl at home again, 6 in a row in that one.
always good at home. Much better place for us.
Yeah,
than,
yeah. It's been since that game that we don't talk about in 2010, since the Tide lost an Iron Bowl in Tuscaloosa.
yeah.
So, uh, yeah, Greg, what's the floor? What's your baseline for a successful season this year?
Honestly, I mean, I think anything less than the playoff, no one's going to consider a successful season. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, I could see it. Worst case scenario, 9-3,
Hmm.
and I don't think that gets us in the playoffs. That's the floor. But I'm thinking more 11-1, 10-2 type. I think we have to kind of be that 10-2 type, unless we lose that third game in the SEC championship game like we did last year, and then we kind of
Hmm.
because I don't think you get penalized for that. I mean,
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that goes this year. With
depends how everything else kind of goes, but obviously
yeah,
it didn't hurt us last year losing that game because we're playing an extra game to Notre Dame, which kind of comes down
hmm,
to, and that's the difference. If they'd also played a 13th game and they had won their 13th game, then
yeah,
the argument that they're the better, they should have been in over us. But then considering their season was over 12, at 12 we have a better resume than you guys. We the
hmm,
13th game, which is the SEC championship game, we lose, but who do we lose to? A great Georgia team. You really get knocked for that? That's up for interpretation, but it's not. So far, they've been pretty consistent with not necessarily killing the team that was in the playoff prior to it being knocked out due to losing the championship game.
hmm, yeah, no. So yeah, I agree with you. I think I do think it's probably a different discussion, but do think 9-3 might be enough for a playoff out the SEC this year because
And
it's so even and balanced. It could be, especially with now the
it
ninth
really did. Yeah,
conference
that ninth
game.
conference game, half the league's
It
going
could be a
to have one more loss on their
yeah,
schedule. So
yeah. It could be a good number of 3 loss teams coming out the SEC this year.
maybe
But
9-3 get you in the championship game. Yeah, you never know.
yeah, who knows? Yeah,
And
depending on who those 3 are. Yeah, but I'm with you. I think there's that brutal stretch, but I think you got some good. Like good home, Georgia and Texas A&M coming into town is huge. Florida State getting that chance for revenge is huge. The road schedule's not terribly tough. Kentucky and State are should wins. Tennessee, who knows? They're kind of breaking in a new quarterback this year too. Tough environment, but
yeah,
still, you would think you definitely can win there.
yeah.
I don't know if we'll be favored. Baton Rouge is always tough for everyone but Alabama.
New coach,
We
a
have a
whole new thing going on down
of
there.
course we lost that 2022 game
That was
there in overtime when
ridiculous.
Brian Kelly actually got that big win over Saban.
Yeah, kind of highlighted
But
his
for
career.
Alabama, it's just Bama Rouge, Bryant Denny West, as we call it. Really do think that the schedule sets up nice for us to make a run at the playoff. And I'm with you. I think baseline, get in the playoff, win a game, and just don't get blown out. I think that's the big thing. Uh, don't end the season on such a sour note. You got to stop getting blown out. It's just not not good when you're Alabama. You really shouldn't be getting blown out as much as we have so far the DeBoer era. Cut out the blowouts. Cut out the upsets. Win the games you should. We got to quit losing these upset games. Oklahoma's a great defense last year, but man, that loss in Tuscaloosa was rough because you nearly
Yeah,
double them in yardage, outgain them by so much.
yeah,
Um, and then just kind of regain that Bama toughness. That's kind of a hallmark of this program. No matter who the coach is, that's not just a Saban thing. That's always been who we are, and um, it doesn't mean we can't be high flying and high scoring, but just we got to have that toughness, that
right,
Bama edge.
exactly.
But yeah, anything else on the Tide before we look at the rest of the SEC?
No, well, I would think the other big, I think it's kind of interesting. We're kind of for the first time in a while, kind of an afterthought. Everybody
Mm,
mentions us, but no one really considers us a contender. We're kind of quietly there.
mm,
We're a little lower than a lot lower than we're normally at to start the season in the polls. But it's Alabama, but they're not Alabama. So maybe, you know, so, we're kind of, the pressure nationally is not really there that it's been in the past there. You know,
mm.
we know our fan base, how they are, but the national pressure and all is, the expectations aren't necessarily as that high this year. So I think we can, you know, and that may be a good thing for us, kind of.
Yeah, yeah, come in a little under the radar there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, but you mentioned it. Yeah, not a lot of people. You listening to some previews, reading some previews. I've seen a lot of pretty much everybody saying it's Georgia and Texas, and then everybody else in the SEC. And I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, obviously, those are probably the two most talented teams for sure. But
Yeah, on paper.
in my, on paper, on my contender tier, though, I have us, Georgia, Texas, LSU, A&M, and Ole Miss, and Oklahoma. Actually, and as far as my teams that I think have a realistic shot to win the SEC or at least make the title game.
Absolutely.
But let's start with the defending champs, the Dogs of Georgia. They've been in the SEC championship. How many years straight now? Five years in a row now. Um, of course, won three of them. Finally got the better of Alabama and Atlanta last year. It's been
Yeah.
just a crutch there for the Dogs, but
You know,
yeah,
who
it
was,
sets up.
yeah,
Yeah, Gunner Stockton back. We mentioned a talented team. Obviously, always going to have talent. They're going to be nasty on defense. Gunner Stockton, good quarterback. Nate Frazier, really good running back. They got talent
I
out
think,
wide.
yeah. I think Gunnar Stockton's kind of underrated. I mean, people
I
think,
I agree.
people are always like, well, I think he's more than a system dude. I think he showed flashes of talent. I mean, yeah, I think he's pretty talented. If he can do that consistently, I think
I mean, yeah,
he
you think about that Tennessee game last year and some of the throws he made in that game.
amazing.
No, I'm with you. I think the key to Georgia's season, they got to refine their explosiveness on offense. That has it been what's missing the past few years is, there's no AD Mitchell, no Lad McConkey, no Brock Bowers. They're not making these big plays that they
There's
used to
no
make. They were,
no stars. There's no definite star.
yeah. Which is, it's been a team that, they grind you away, they beat you up, but then they make that big play
Yep.
to really put themselves over the edge, and if they can regain that, then yeah, there's back in the national title discussion for sure.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see the schedule sets up nice for them. I think they got a really favorable schedule.
do.
They don't
Right.
play a tough game till Oklahoma on the 26th of September, and that's in Athens.
Right.
They don't have a tough road one till Tuscaloosa on the 10th of October.
Mhm.
And then other than that, they have to go at Ole Miss and then at South Carolina late in the year. So, some tricky spots maybe, but I mean, they get Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, Auburn, Missouri, and Georgia Tech at home. Of course, they got the cocktail party at neutral site. Um, I think it's a favorable schedule. Yeah, I think anything less than a 10-2 regular season would be a massive disappointment
Yeah.
for the dogs. Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, Georgia, I would say, is their own worst enemy just because, how dominant they when they won that second championship. They kind of ran through
Hmm.
every year.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they, of course, blew out TCU in a national title game, and everybody thought, oh, next season, 3P for sure. Pretty
Hmm.
easy. And, since then, it's been tough. I mean, they've lost two straight times and that got the bye and then came out flat against Notre Dame 2 years ago and got punched in the mouth. Of
Hmm.
course, came backlash. I mean, they got out to their not a big lead, but two touchdown lead later. Looked like they were gonna, and then Trinidad Chandler put up some magic there
Hmm.
last year. But it's just a matter of of course, people think Georgia's good, but then how their season is in, people are like, well, maybe, are they as good? They're still as good. It's just that it's more balanced, so it's a little tougher. And you can
Hmm.
point to too much time off, but other teams are having that time off too, so that really doesn't necessarily work as an excuse. I mean, Indiana had that time off too, and they didn't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. So it's about not only getting a playoff, obviously, but getting a win. And
yeah.
we talked about it at the time. But it was people were you said there was like almost like they thought automatic they were going to get the three-peat. And the conversation was, oh, when is Kirby going to break Saban's title record? It wasn't even if. They're like, oh, he's going to do it quickly. And
Oh, he's gonna
eh,
be winning at a Nick. Yeah,
yeah, it's a different era of college football, man. The
easier
portal
to
has
say
really,
the
yeah, it's really the 12-team playoff and the portal have really in NIL to a lesser degree. I think that's overblown, but
uh,
um, it's
change
going
my
to be so tough to do what Again, we talked about it when he retired, but I think people are a little too quick to think of Nick Saban's accomplishments at Alabama as something that's attainable, and it's just so special in what he did. I mean, he won 6 national titles in 12 years. That's absurd
and
in this day and
honestly,
age. Yeah,
probably
yeah.
if we want to argue ifs and shoulda, woulda, couldas, probably could add two or three more easily.
Oh, easily, yeah. I mean, you know what? Someone gets a hand on that ball at the end of the Clemson game. Hunter Renfro drops it, whatever. Boom, that's another one. Kick six doesn't happen. We got a shot to play Florida State,
Florida
and I think
State,
we could have beat them. Man, they're
yeah,
talking about a three-peat there.
all time.
If Tua stays healthy in 2019, I do think we could have beat that LSU team. I don't think they were that unbeatable.
Right?
Um,
I mean, honestly, I
if
always think that 2019, that first drive, we were driving down the field.
hmm
And then we get down to the 3 yard line, and then I don't know,
just
two
dropped it, inexplicable
over
fumble.
his
Yeah.
head, and it's like, oh my god! And then that changed the whole day. We scored that touchdown there. I think that sets a tone for the game. It's still
hmm
gonna be close, but I think we would have won that game that day had that first drive been a 7.
No, I fully believe in it. It's maybe a homer thought, but if Tua were 100% in that game, I think we win. Or B, if he doesn't have the massive hip injury, which I know a lot of people were talking about his terrible performance in that Falcons preseason game, but man, it's different for Alabama fans because we saw Tua before his hip injury was
It
a
was
different.
amazing.
He was a beast and just a different animal, man. Watching him play quarterback was a thing of beauty. But yeah, I fully believe that if he just doesn't get that hip injury against Mississippi State, gets healthy,
Oh yeah,
he
we don't
plays
lose
against he plays against Auburn. We don't lose that one.
because then you got
We
to
get
think we have the two
yeah
pick sixes, 99-yard returns. When does that ever
yeah
happen?
exactly yeah. I mean, interception off a guy's ass.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think if we finish that season with just that one LSU loss,
Oh,
we'd
yeah, we're in the
probably get in that 14 playoff. Yeah, probably get a shot, and I think we could have beat that LSU team.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, let's. But anyway,
yeah,
we're just talking about
yeah.
That's related to Georgia. It's
I
hard,
told
but
you
Kirby's a good coach, and he'll have
he's,
they're always going to be in
he's,
discussion. Like I said, I think their big thing is, like you said, getting out of their own way, and then they got to find that explosiveness on offense again. They got to get that back. But
yeah.
let's move on. Texas, the other favorite, maybe the most talented team in the country. Of course, they maybe got some bad news. Was it today or yesterday? Cam Coleman was carted off the practice field. So
I know.
you, the leg injury, you don't
Your
want
hope,
to see
your
that.
hope is
Yeah.
not. And anytime it's late, oh my god, just because
Yeah,
you're on that for the ACS.
you really worry there, but yeah, hopefully that kid he's all right because
He's such a talented dude. Oh,
he is, and it's good to see him not in an Auburn jersey now. You would have
man.
liked to see him in crimson or in a different conference, but
Like you really want to see him with a solid quarterback, which he has never
mhm.
had. And
Yeah,
Arch
exactly.
his first solid quarterback because at the end of last season, all the hype at the start of the year, yes, they lost at the horseshoe, it was ugly, but they were still in that game throughout. I mean, his first year as a starter started off kind of slow, but by the end of the season, November, Arch Manning was playing good football.
Hmm. He was, and yeah, I think he's gonna. And now with some more talent around him, I mean, he's got Ryan Wingo back. If Cam Coleman's healthy, that's great. They got Hollywood Smothers and Stolen from Bama in
Hell,
the transfer portal. It's
great
a
back.
great, yeah, it's a great running back to have. Of course, they're a beast on the line.
Yeah,
Steve Sarkeesian, one of the great offensive minds of our time.
yeah.
Will Muschamp back on the defense, man.
For you younger people, at one point he was the coach in waiting to be the coach at
Mm,
Texas when they thought
mhm,
Mac Brown. That coach in waiting never really worked out anywhere, or no one ever stayed
mhm.
that long to become the guy. But that was a
No.
game that he was going to replace Mac Brown when Mac retired, but that never
Mhm,
transpired. But yep, back in Austin, the defense wasn't bad last year, just not as good as it was in 24. And I guess
mhm.
they had to make that change. I mean, and he's a maybe not a great head coach, but an amazing defensive coordinator. I mean, we've
Yeah.
seen it a few
Ab-
times.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's going to be a great defense. They should be a national title contender.
Yeah,
The thing for them is, man, that schedule. Oof,
that was tough.
it is tough. Of course, they got big Ohio State game week 2.
Yeah,
They go on the road to Tennessee week 4. They got, of course, Red River October 10th.
yeah.
Florida comes to town, then Mississippi comes to town. After that, you go on the road to Missouri, then at LSU late in the year, and then at Texas A&M. That November, yeah, 3 road games:
Good well done.
Missouri, LSU, and A&M.
Yeah,
Uh, so
could
it's a
be
really, really
tough.
tough schedule for Texas.
Could be tough there. I mean, of
Mm,
course, you would love to get that early week 2 win over Ohio State, get the revenge there.
mhm,
But that doesn't make or break your season. Of course, you win that game and you're sitting on top of the world in week 2. Um, but if you lose that game, of course, it doesn't kill you because Ohio State, you expect them to be high in the Big Ten race. So I mean, that doesn't kill you as a loss there.
mhm.
But man, when you got that that run from Tennessee, Oklahoma, Florida to Ole Miss, I mean, that's a crazy run there.
Yeah, they're gonna earn it. Yeah, if they get there, they're gonna earn it. I mean, 10 wins against that schedule is great. I mean,
I mean, the
and then
expectation is definitely high in Austin this year. That
mhm,
schedule, boy, is a doozy. I mean, at Tennessee, I mean, Knoxville's always going to be tough. Good
mhm,
thing for Texas, it's an 11 a.m. game that does help out some
mhm,
because Knoxville at night is nuts, especially the Vols are looking good. And
mhm.
we, there's questions, but there's talent there. Um, the Red River game, we know that game is a wild one. Often it's hard to figure out. Often the team you comes in the game looking better doesn't win that game. We've had seen some crazy stuff throughout that series. Of course, last year Texas won. John Mateer probably came back too early. didn't go well. Forcing himself in that game. Texas did win that, but that's always a toss-up game. Florida, has questions. Also, that is a revenge game for Texas. They had that terrible loss last year in Gainesville. Still,
Hmm.
how they lost that kept them out the playoff for sure. That was a loss that really shot them out of the playoffs there. Uh, and then you get, but you get 2 games at home there. Florida at home, then Ole Miss at home. So at least
Hmm.
you're in Austin, but I mean, neither one of those games are going to be easy, especially that Ole Miss game. Arguably maybe the best quarterback in the SEC. I mean, people are going to say Arthur Chandler's. If he's anything like he was last year, he's a star. Um,
Yeah.
Maybe the best running back in the nation there, Q1 Lacey. I mean, but that Ole Miss team has questions. Replace a lot on the defense and also in the wide receiver room. But they should be in the playoff hunt there. Tough schedule, man. You
Hmm.
know, I mean, and you got to think even that Mississippi State game, it's at home as well. Mississippi State gave Texas all they wanted last year,
They
and they
did,
should
yeah. They had their chances to win that game. Probably, arguably, could have, if not
have
should
won.
have. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
I
Yeah.
mean it's
So.
awesome this year, but you would think Texas wins that, but hey, they gave them a game last year, so who knows? I think State's going to be better this year.
Mhm.
At Missouri is tricky just because you never know what Missouri is going to be. You know they're
Yeah.
going to be good, but you don't know. They've had time. They're basically won 10 games the last 3 years.
Mm.
Been averaging about 10 wins for a little bit, but they don't necessarily win the big games. I guess that's the biggest knock on Missouri. They don't knock off the big time names. They beat who they're supposed to beat, but they
Mhm.
don't necessarily knock off the big dogs.
Yeah. Yeah. You think of that when they had Georgia on the ropes a few years back, man. Definitely should have beaten them, but no,
Yeah,
yeah, it's always a weird place, and
yeah,
then you follow that up with going to Baton Rouge. I'm sure that'll be a night game.
yeah.
Um, and then you end the season at Texas A&M, your big rivalry. You ruined their unbeaten season last year. They're just dying to get a win over you. And then in between that, you have an Arkansas team, which big rebuilding year. I don't think they'll be that good, but it could be a sandwich game that late in the year. Rivalry game, even at
Rivalry
home.
game. They would love
Yeah,
to
yeah,
ruin them, anything. But
yeah. The hate's big in that one, but
really,
yeah. Let's move on to their rivals, the Aggies. Let's move on to those Aggies. Of course, made that playoff run last year. Not a great, end to their season as they
you
lost
know,
that. Of course, we mentioned that rivalry game to Texas, and then that just inept offensive performance against Miami in the playoff.
you can point to
Um,
the win was brutal, but yeah, that was
yeah,
bad.
it was still a brutal game. A lot of people thought that maybe their schedule was a little
Cake,
misleading. A little cake it ended up being. Of course, they did have the big win in South. Was it in South Bend? Yeah, it was. Or at
huge.
least, yeah, huge win. They're off the schedule this year, Notre Dame, but Marcel Reed back at quarterback. That's big. Um, they got Isaiah Horton transferred over from Alabama. He's an Aggie now.
They got a
You know,
great wide receiver room.
yeah, along with him and Ashton Bethel Roman, excuse me. Mario Craver, yeah, that's a great receiver room. We know Mike Elko is going to have that defense playing really tough. Um, it's definitely a playoff caliber team,
Yeah,
and the schedule tricky though. Some tough. They get a
tough schedule. Much
yeah
tougher than last year.
yeah much tough. Interesting out of conference game with Arizona State coming to town week
Week two.
2. Week 4, you got to go at LSU.
Mhm.
Got to go at Missouri. Got to go at Alabama. Got to go at South Carolina. Remember that crazy game last year? South Carolina was beating the brakes off them,
Before you had
and
the crazy comeback.
yeah, great comeback win for the Aggies there. Um,
You go
and
add
then yeah, in Norman at Oklahoma, sandwiched between those two is Tennessee, and then of course after you go at Oklahoma, you finish the season with your rival Texas, even though it's at
Yeah.
home. It's a tough schedule for A&M, man. That
It is.
road schedule in particular is brutal.
Yeah, definitely a lot tougher than last year.
Hmm.
Expectations are going to be there. I mean, obviously the Aggies have a lot of
Hmm.
talent. They could easily win these games, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough right out the gate. I mean, honestly, Arizona State's not going to be a picnic. I mean, but you got to get that
Mm-mm.
win there. I would think you have to win it, but at LSU, last game of the month of September, and that's a big game for both teams. I mean, of course,
Hmm.
last year Marcel Reed kind of that's where Brian Kelly's career came to an end. In the second half of that game got brutal, ridiculous. And Marcel Reed is an LSU killer the last 2 years. Main thing with him though, we got to if A&M wants to be as good as they want to be, he has to be that Marcel every week. He has some
Yeah.
times where we don't see that. For three-fourths of the more than that, maybe 80%, 90% of that South Carolina game, we did not see him. He struggled against Texas. We really didn't see him there. He was brutal in the playoff game against Miami at home.
Hmm.
So basically, he has to be that Marcel Reed that we know we've seen at times in the big game situations all the time for them to be the team that they can be. What it comes down to, I think. But
Yeah, absolutely. Like we said, we know the defense is going to be tough. They're going to be hard. They're going to be good. Mike Elko, always a great defensive coach. But yeah, this is a team. 9-3 season might miss the playoff, but I would not be a disappointment against that schedule. I mean, obviously, if you're an Aggie fan, you want to do better, but
I mean, yeah, yeah. I
that's a
mean, if you're an
tough,
Aggie
such a
fan,
tough schedule.
if you're an Aggie fan, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, 9-3 is probably gonna piss you off with the money,
Mm-hmm.
the expectations. But honestly, I mean, if you look at this, I mean, it could, if things don't go right, it could easily be a 6-6 season as well.
That's true. Yeah, if things go south, yeah, that's
I mean, you could easily
could.
lose to A&M, OU, Texas,
Mhm.
uh, us, possibly Tennessee. I mean, dang, I mean, you easily could be at 7-5, 6-6 real quick if you're not um, paying attention every week and playing your game.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
just
yeah. There's a world they slip up, they could lose. All those road games are losable. That's
yeah.
five right there, and then like you mentioned, yeah, you still got Texas, Tennessee on that schedule. So,
Obviously Texas.
mm,
That's A&M with. I mean, I think A&M thinks about Texas more than Texas thinks about A&M. Honestly, um,
mhm.
but for whatever reason, man, they can't beat Texas in anything to save their lives.
Yeah, it's been rough in that rivalry lately, man. Can't beat them in basketball, can't beat them in football. Lost
They
their
took your
baseball coach
baseball.
to them. Yeah.
Oh man, it's been brutal. Yeah, I mean, you've had, the big con. I mean, you had the first year of Kyle Field. The atmosphere was amazing, and Texas kind of made it easy.
Hmm.
Last year, you're undefeated, having probably the greatest season in A&M history, and who beats you? The 9-3 Texas team that's not going to make the playoff. you know, just tough. And I
And
know that's
man,
the
what
fan
a
base crazy.
what a set of dominoes that happened too. Because if they get that win, then the SEC title game is Alabama A&M, and
Yeah,
maybe that's a lot different. I think we definitely could have beat that Texas A&M team, or at least I don't think it would have been a blowout
no,
loss.
it's
And that really changes the
the
equation in
whole,
the playoff last year. But
like, yeah,
let's move a little east to Baton Rouge. I got LSU in my contender tier too because obviously they're always talented, and then Lane Kiffin coming over from Ole Miss. Of course, the controversial story of the end of last season, and then of course they made that great playoff run around them. But Lane Kiffin takes over for Brian Kelly, whose tenure was a disaster in Baton Rouge, and
never turned into what people kind of.
no, he got.
I would you would never do, but I thought, man, Brian Kelly gets a talent that LSU can get with, but he won games that because that was always a knock that he can't win the game because he doesn't have necessarily the talent in
Mhm.
Notre Dame that he could get at LSU. So I was under the impression he could really do some things. You didn't buy into, and I was smart of you. But here we have a new guy there in a place that's really when things are good, they love you, but they'll turn on you in a quickness in Baton Rouge.
Hmm.
The
And yeah,
last couple we've seen.
and it starts right away too. I mean, of course, they get Sam Levitt coming over from Arizona State, play quarterback. You know they're going to have great players all over the field. Um, but
Good wide
yeah,
receiver.
yeah,
Um,
good wide receiver room, strong running back room.
but that's their big thing is they have to fix their running game as well.
Hmm.
They were bad at running the ball last year. It seems like they've addressed it in the portal and everything, but they only got about 105 yards a game last year, so they were brutal running the ball as well. So that's
Yeah, I
some of
mean,
the
yeah, their leading
uh,
rusher only had 500 yards last year, so
so
um,
they've been down a little bit running the ball.
mm,
Big thing with them though, they got one of the most talented defensive coordinators, Blake Baker, back there as their defensive
mhm,
coordinator, who really had them looking better last year. I think they take it to another level this year and become even better. But again, you know, the pressure's on simply because they've spent a good amount of money on this team there. The
mhm,
expectations are I think maybe they're a little outlandish, but often LSU's is a little outlandish with their expectations at times. I
mhm,
mean, obviously they underachieved last year. People expected big things from last year's team, and it imploded quickly.
mhm,
Uh, but you start off that week one, you have to beat Clemson. I mean, they're unranked this year, so you got to get that win at home. There, you lose that
mhm.
game, and that's
I about to say because that's Lane Kiffin's battling his own thing. For all the remarkable things he did at Ole Miss and turned that around, he still never won the big game there. We got I guess he got the couple wins over Georgia or whatnot, but
Georgia win was pretty big there 2 years ago.
yeah,
But I mean,
Georgia won 2 years ago was big, but then uh, no playoff. Then he turned around and what was it? The Kentucky loss where they blew
yeah,
it.
he
Yeah,
lost, Florida lost that year. So two
yeah.
brutal losses that year that kept him out the playoff. And of
Mhm,
course, he doesn't not even the coach for the playoffs last year. I mean, you could say, oh, they would have won those games, but do they? We'll never know.
I
So
mean,
he's still he's
they're on the
still
doorstep of playing for the national title without him. So that's gotta.
that's got to eat at him a little bit.
Yeah, so it's
Not
really
yet,
Ellis. It's
his
an interest.
guys, but still.
Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting marriage of him
Yeah.
trying to get over the hump and prove that he's worth all the money and commotion, and then LSU trying to get back to being an elite program in the sport because they since that 2019 national title, man, they have fallen off. They had that five straight losses in their opening game. Finally broke that last year.
And they've
Um,
been, I mean, they've really been up
yeah,
and down, nothing spectacular. I mean, even like we talked about it, even in Jaden's Heisman year, they had three losses. I mean,
yeah, because
the different
yeah,
things that pick up that handicap that team. But of course, everybody's been talking about it all off season. That week three game at the Grove, that place is gonna be wild. Night game,
woo, man.
hatred. You would never think that a man that took Ole Miss to the playoff and their most legendary season would ever be the most hated man in less than 2 months after. It's
Yeah,
wild.
but he is, yeah, and yeah, that's going to be intense, and that's also it's. I mean, that's a pretty brutal September schedule, all things considered.
Yeah,
Clemson, like you said, at home they're unranked, but I mean
it's
they're
Clemson.
desperate. They're desperate to get back to an
So
elite level as well.
they're
Um,
a good team,
yeah,
absolutely.
then you got to go that at Ole Miss, and then the week after that you host Texas A
No
and
matter how
M,
that
and
goes, no
yeah,
matter how that goes, you're
yeah,
either A on top of the world because you beat Ole Miss and you're think
mm,
you're high and mighty, or you lose that game and you got to bounce back. Either way, you
mm.
got to be head on the swivel because A&M is coming to town,
And yeah,
regardless.
in a series that's been crazy since they've been playing. I mean, that A&M LSU series is crazy, and A&M beats them. I think they've won like three of the last five against them. So um, it is absolutely always tough. And then it gets a little easier after that. McNeese at Kentucky, Mississippi State at Auburn, which is a
Have a
rivalry game. So
have
yeah,
a nice October. You think you win all four of those? I mean, of course, Auburn
yeah,
new coach.
hmm
Probably going to get better just because I think I like him as a coach.
hmm
Uh, but you would think if you're a title contender this year at LSU, you definitely win the month of October. You can't lose any of those games.
No, you can't do. And then you get to November and a tough ending too. You get Alabama comes to town next week. Texas comes to town, so no break. And then you end on the road 2 games at Tennessee. And who knows, late in the season what those teams are playing for. And then at Arkansas, another game that's always crazy. Uh, Good to see that one back at the end of the season, though. Good to see
Yeah,
LSU and
yeah,
Arkansas at the end of the
still
season.
need to be on that Fridays,
Yeah,
but
right. Get back to
but
that Friday.
still, yeah, get back to that Friday. We've seen some crazy stuff in that Golden Boot game. Obviously, probably not this year because Arkansas just said rebuild and
Yeah.
completely. They're in a bad spot right now, so probably not. But the rest of November, brutal.
Mm,
And you
tough,
get them at
tough.
home, but Alabama, Texas, in back-to-back weeks. It doesn't matter where those games are. My
Mm.
goodness.
And then have to go up to Knoxville after that. So, like you said, you're either going to be either they've won those 2 and they're riding high, and that's a big trap game, or they lost one or both of them, and all of a sudden that is desperation mode, and you don't want to be desperate going into
No,
Neyland Stadium.
no. Especially if Tennessee's, and who knows what Tennessee will be by November as well.
Exactly. Yeah, that could be a huge game for them too.
Yeah.
They could be desperate in their own right. But let's move to Kiffin's old team, Ole Miss. I got them as a contender too because so much talent. You mentioned Trinidad Chambliss, maybe the best quarterback in the SEC. Kewan Lacey, maybe the best running back in the country. Um, Deuce Alexander out wide. Still plenty of talent on this team. The question there is how is Pete Golden going to fare in his first full season as head coach?
Yeah.
How is the offense going to fare with new offense coordinator John David Baker coming over from East Carolina? They ran a pretty high tempo, high scoring, exciting offense there. So,
And they seem to be
um,
happy with them. I mean,
mhm.
turned out Chambliss speaks well of them. But yeah, obviously Pete Golden got an ultimate test right away as a head coach. I mean, it doesn't get any better, bigger than starting your career as a head coach in the playoff.
Yeah, right.
But it's a little different now because now it's yours fully. I mean,
I'll tell you what, an offseason move I liked for them though. Bringing in Mike Stoops as a defensive analyst. I think having a guy like that on staff, not just for the players, but for Golden himself. Mike Stoops, what he did at Kentucky is, nothing short of great. And, of course, it didn't end great, but
yeah,
that's a guy you can lean on, a guy you can really learn from if you pick his
absolutely,
brain and how to run a
absolutely.
program, especially one like Ole Miss who doesn't have quite the amount of resources the bigger ones and is historically, not an elite program, but
You know,
plenty of pride and expectation there. And
you know,
schedule wise, they started right now. It's a tough September too for them.
yes,
Louisville and Nashville on that Sunday, the first week. A little neutral site game, but that'll be a fun one. I'm pretty high on Louisville this year too. I think we talked about
yeah,
that in our ACC. And then of course the big LSU game, and then the week after one, you got to go to the Swamp. That's because either way, after that, it's that
either
emotional.
right
It's
at
going to be yeah.
or
Hmm.
you're filling in the dumps. But either way, man, you're going to the swamp. And man, I think this Florida team, I don't know if they're going to have all the wins this year, but I think their coach is a hell of a coach, and I think
Hmm.
he's um let's say he's won the off season. His talking season's been pretty great. He's
Yeah.
right things. You know, he kind of is everything that Billy Napier wasn't. He's more of a personal dude, but he
Hmm.
also main thing with them, he has to button things up. We saw some very undisciplined Florida teams under Billy Napier, but we'll talk about
Hmm.
them. You
Yeah.
know, if they turn, I mean, that's a tough game. Um, Regardless, just because you're coming off the huge game, one of the bigger ones, a regular season game, probably in
Hmm.
recent history, just because everything that comes to that. Plus, it's a rivalry game in itself,
Hmm.
regardless.
Yeah. A classic rivalry. Yeah.
And then you go to the swamp, and then you turn that around. But you get a week, and then you go to Vandy, and Vandy's a team that it's
It's a new day. Yeah, that's going to be a rough game. Yeah.
you know,
And that's a
got their
brutal road schedule overall. Only 4 true road games for Ole Miss, but it's Florida, Vandy, Texas, and Oklahoma. That's
not
that's
pretty
tough. That's tough. Yeah.
good stuff.
And then of course Georgia comes to town too. Got the Egg Bowl, which is on
Georgia
that.
looking for revenge on
Yeah.
the playoff. You're going to Norman
Mm-hmm.
in November, and John Mateer and that defense is supposed to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they just signed their coach a 6-year extension. There, kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
Venables got his 6-year extension today with the new
I saw
AD.
that. Saw that. Yeah.
But obviously OU is going to be tough, and then of course the Egg Bowl is the Egg Bowl. So
Yeah. Exactly.
I still
Uh,
want on Thanksgiving, but hey, the Egg Bowl is still the Egg Bowl. But man, I mean, I, just something about on Thanksgiving night is so fun.
mhm. Yeah, but yeah, the
That's
Rebels got they got their work cut out for them, but Golden certainly has talent there,
yeah,
and they can like you said, he cut his teeth coaching in the playoffs, so that's great. Like I said, I think Mike Stoops having him on staff will be huge for him,
Stoops
and
there,
they
absolutely.
yeah certainly have the roster to make another run at the playoff.
Boy,
The
if you look at that schedule, I mean, they could easily have
mm,
5 losses as well.
that's true. Yeah, they're another one of those teams that if things don't bounce right,
I
an
mean,
injury or two.
you look at the I mean,
Yeah.
they could lose LSU, Texas, Georgia, Oklahoma, right? I mean, just looking at the schedule, I mean,
Hmm.
they could win those games, but man, it's not. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
some tough.
Right. Yeah. We could see them fall back to that kind of 4 or 5 loss Ole Miss.
Yeah. Hmm.
But let's move on. The last team I have in this contender tier is Oklahoma. I think just that defense, always nasty, always tough. Brent Venables and the way he schemes it up.
Yeah.
And then if they can get a healthy John Mateer, can look like he looked in those first few games of last year.
More in the first half. The first
Mhm.
half of our playoff game, he was looking elite for
Mhm.
the start
He
of that
was,
game.
yeah.
He's like, my
Um,
goodness. But, yeah.
yeah, they've if they can just be above average on offense and don't turn the ball over, that defense is good enough to put them in the playoff and SEC title contention, for sure. Of course, and we're going to say this a lot this preview because the 9 game
It's
schedule
the
is brutal,
truth.
but another tough schedule. I mean, week 2 they got to go to the Big House at Michigan.
Yeah.
Um,
Michigan with a lot of unknowns, new coach. The
mm,
Bryce Young returning the quarterback that they paid him to
yeah,
be.
yeah,
A lot of expectations there.
yeah. Either way, it's never a cakewalk to go up there to Ann Arbor.
And
Um,
you have a decent New Mexico team. I mean, obviously, you
mm,
win that game, but New Mexico's
not a pushover. Yeah.
not a pushover. So I mean, it's a tougher game than some you could play. Then you go to Athens. That's a
Hmm.
huge game. But then you follow that with the bye week before, of course, Red River rivalry. You
Hmm.
know what that is. I mean, that's a toss up in itself. Then it gets a little easier. I mean, obviously, you think you got to be Kentucky this year. You got to
Hmm.
be State this year, even in Starkville, if you're a
Yeah.
contender. Or they've had some weird one. Well, South Carolina. I mean, it's at home. I think they'll be good. But South Carolina, they're a team we don't know. I mean, obviously, they have some talented pieces there, but
Hmm.
they're inconsistent. But they're an every other year type team, and this is the other year, so who knows? That's kind of been the thing with them. And then you in November, oof, you got at
Oh,
Florida. That November.
tough November. Tough November, man.
I mean, you got at
Yeah.
Florida, Ole Miss, A&M, and then at Mizzou to end the regular season.
Yeah.
Um, so no gimmies there for sure.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Because yeah, you got to say you have to assume that UTEP and New Mexico are wins in September, but Oklahoma could easily be 2-2 coming out of September. And then all of a sudden, the bulk of that schedule is must win. You're basically playing a playoff game every
Yeah,
week.
pretty much.
Um, so that's really tough. So they got to steal one of those games on the road in September
Mhm.
to keep themselves in the playoff and SEC title
Absolutely.
contention and national title contention.
Yep.
But yeah, that's all the teams I have in my contender tier.
Mhm.
Going to the wild card tier. Let's start South Carolina. We mentioned them. Who knows? Up and down. Uh, they do have, they got talent. Lenore Sellers is back. Nick Harbor is back. Just a
Yeah.
freak of nature at receiver. Although they're going to be thin, they've lost two guys to season-ending injuries.
And Norris's brother, who looked
Mm,
like he was going to be the number two guy there this year. Some even
mm,
said maybe the number one guy. That was a big loss. The transfer from OU sound like he's had a plethora of injuries. It's been his whole career. So you hate to
mhm.
see your guys continue with those injuries, but those guys are already out for the. He lost two people you expect to contribute solidly before the season starts. That's a tough way to start things.
Yeah, it's
Um,
it's real tough. They did send Mike Shula back in, so they brought in. I think this is big. Brought in Kendall Browse from where was he last year? I know he's at TCU before that, but where is he? Where did he end up last year?
he was.
Was he still at TCU, or I thought he went somewhere else
I
last
think.
year?
No, I don't think he was at TCU last year.
He was still at TCU last year. Yeah.
And because he was I think he was OC last year at TCU. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's I think he's gonna. Yeah, I think he'll be. He was he was assistant head coach of OC and the QB coach last year at TCU.
Okay.
So same type of thing at South Carolina. Probably, uh, Mike Shula was a weird hire, I thought,
Mm-hmm.
but I think Kendall Browse, he's going to love working with Lenora Sellers.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Sellers is electric. The biggest thing with him is consistency. You see some great things, you see some, then you'll see some terrible things. He hasn't always been the most consistent guy, but when he's on, he's absolutely scary.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the Nick Harbor, probably the fastest dude in the SEC. Of course, he's
Mm-hmm.
playing football now, but it started off as a track guy, but seems to really become a football guy now. So, but they the defense led by Dylan Stewart. I mean, obviously, I think he's a little banged up. May not even start the season, but you would hope he's back by the time SEC plays start. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know where his injury is, but the biggest thing with them is they've every other year they've been good, but they can't consistently put it together. 2 years ago they were inches from the playoffs. People thought they should have got in with the
Mm-hmm.
three losses because of how they ended the season, and they went 4-8 last year. So, um,
Yeah, it's tough, and a brutal 4-8 last year too. A lot of after. I mean, what was their best win last year? I guess maybe that opening game against Virginia Tech, and
yeah, I mean,
it wasn't a great year. And yeah, this year they got three games they should win to start it. Kent State, Towson, and Mississippi State before they go to Tuscaloosa.
yeah,
But yeah, it's another tough one. Their road schedule alone, they go at Alabama, at Florida, at Oklahoma, at Arkansas, and then at Clemson in the year. And they're another team that closing stretch, man. So they get a bye on October 17th after the Florida game, and they end their season with Tennessee at home, at Oklahoma, Texas A&M at home, at Arkansas, Georgia at home, and then at Clemson in the year. So
brutal.
that it's brutal
That's,
schedule. Um,
I mean, honestly, looking at it on paper, I mean, you're struggling to see six. I mean, you
mm,
see that Kent State game, you see Towson. You have to get Mississippi State if you're going to go into a bowl game.
mhm.
Kentucky,
Prob Probably should beat Kentucky at home, yeah. And then after that, I mean, probably should beat Arkansas on the road.
you would hope so.
So that would give you five, and then yeah, it's like, ooh,
The rest are toss ups.
where do you steal? Yeah, where do you steal a win? But if
Who's going to be
Lenore
better?
Sellers if Lenore Sellers can get back to that guy that everyone thought was a top NFL prospect,
Yeah,
if the O line can be consistent, if the defense can reemerge, a couple years ago that was their strength. Those ends, they were beasts. They got after the quarterback. They created turnovers. Um,
yeah,
so there you can see it there, but yeah, they need a lot of things to go right. But
really,
it's definitely a team that should maybe not contend for the SEC or the playoff, but definitely could make a run or at least ruin somebody's year.
absolutely.
Um, that talent. But let's go. Let's go to the Plains next. Auburn, wild card because new staff. Of course, like you said, they brought in Alex Gullish from USF. He brings over Byron Brown as his quarterback. So maybe Auburn might finally have a decent quarterback. This is one of the
Yeah, three
the
thousand on the ground last year. So
yeah,
nice.
and what's been one of the worst stretches of Auburn football in their program's history. Really, I mean they've had 7 losses. At least 5 straight years now. I can't remember what their 2020 record was, but it's been a rough
I've
stretch on the
been,
plains.
I've been to a bowl game in a while. And
Yeah, which we don't and haven't won one in a good minute. Their last bowl win was over Purdue in the Music City Bowl in 2018. Um, so that's tough. Yeah, last time they played Music City Bowl, lost to Maryland a couple years ago, lost here in the Birmingham Bowl to Houston. Um, so yeah, it's been a tough ride. Hugh Freeze was a swing and a miss as a coach and hire, um, as was his predecessor Brian Harsin. So the hope
really,
is Alex Galish can bring some of that toughness he had at USF. Um, whether that translates, whether Byron Brown translate his skill set translates to the SEC is to be seen. But um, they certainly I think should be a little improved. Um, I don't
I
know if
think
they have the overall talent. Of course, losing a guy like Cam Coleman really hurts. Um,
yeah,
but it's there, another one with a tough road schedule too. I mean, they start the season with Baylor and Atlanta, then
you
Southern
got,
Miss, and
you
then
got to get
Florida. Yeah, and then Florida and Vanderbilt at home, all before they play a true road game. But they're another team. The road schedule just does not. They go at Tennessee, then they get a bye, then they go at Georgia, then they host LSU, then at Ole Miss and host
home.
Arkansas, then at Mississippi State, and then get Samford, a break, and then they go to Tuscaloosa for the Iron Bowl. So I
Yep.
think getting back to a bowl is a good
I
season
think
for the Tigers there.
actually, with this schedule on paper right now going into season, that's
Yeah,
actually quite an accomplishment.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
But I
you
mean,
know
you
who.
got to win those games that you're supposed to win. You got to
Hmm.
beat Baylor. It's probably gonna be a tough game, but you got to win that. Especially you're gonna have the home advantage in Atlanta. It's gonna be a lot of Auburn fans there. You got to
Hmm.
get there. You got to beat Southern Miss, of course. Florida toss-up game. Two new coaches in the SEC looking to establish themselves.
Hmm.
It's an interesting game.
It's at
Um,
home. Got to win it at home. Yeah.
home. Then Vandy, a team that has given them a plethora of problems.
Oh
But the
man.
best
Yeah.
thing for them is no Diego Pavia, which has been the thorn in Auburn's side for since the Mexico State days.
Hmm.
So now he's gone. So you would hope you got to catch him. Realistically, you want to go if you're at Auburn, you're hoping you want to go to Knoxville undefeated. If
Hmm.
you go to Knoxville undefeated, you're looking good because you know. And then if you could split those road games, Tennessee or Georgia, if you could split that, more than likely Tennessee is going to be your one that you could beat. But
Hmm.
and even split that and go that LSU comes to town and you're what 6-1 or 5-1. That's a hell of a way to go into that LSU game.
Hmm.
But we want to go into Tennessee undefeated, and that will really have people things looking up on the plains. But man, but they could also go into that Tennessee game with 2 losses and wouldn't shock me.
No. Yeah. Yeah. I could easily see him dropping to Florida, to maybe Vandy, or to Baylor. Who knows what Baylor's going to look like this year. Um, but yeah, I think you're right. You want to go there at worst case 3-1 going into that Tennessee game.
But if you could go 4-0,
Yeah.
that'd be huge
Yeah. Huge.
because
But
it
yeah.
gets brutal in October and no, yeah. But
Hmm.
October is brutal. I mean, you got Tennessee, Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss. My God,
Yeah. Yeah. Just
favors
absolutely.
are
And,
getting.
three of them on the road. Yeah. And then
Yeah,
LSU's your one home game. So that's always a
that's
crazy
probably a
answer.
picnic. But we've
Yeah.
had some crazy ones over the time.
Hmm.
We've seen some wild
Uh,
ones between us too.
but yeah, let's go from one team we hate to another one. Tennessee, another wild card team. I have a lot of people have them, I think, as more of a contender, but I have them as a wild card because it's uncertain quarterback situation there. Um,
I say you roll the dice with your freshman personally.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Faison Brandon. I think is that the guy you like, Brandon?
I mean, that's what I would do. I mean, he's
Yeah.
obviously a talented. The other guy has been in the system. He hasn't played though either, so he's kind of unknown as well.
Hmm.
I think I'd rather go with the unknown that is the true freshman that you expect big things from in the future. This with the
Yeah.
NIL everything, just because that's a guy you don't want to see transfer for some reason or something like that.
Yeah, and he is, big guy, 6'4", 215. He's got some legs too. He can run. Got a hell of a cannon. Looks like a
Yeah,
prototypical Josh Heupel quarterback.
right.
Guy loves. They also have Ryan Staub on that room, who played at Colorado for a couple years. Um, but yeah, I think Faison Brandon's. Yeah, I think I'm with you.
That's
You
right.
go with him. He's got a solid receiving room to help
Yeah,
him out there. Defense has been pretty good.
yeah,
Um, the schedule pretty easy, crazy. No Tennessee Georgia game this year, so that's pretty crazy.
yeah.
Um, they get Texas at home, they get Alabama at home, you get LSU at home. So that's pretty big. They do got
Okay.
interesting road game week 2 at Georgia
Yeah,
Tech.
that's that's a very interesting game.
Yeah.
Uh, a lot of questions in both teams there.
Hmm.
Of course, the quarterback at both schools going to be new. Um, but yeah, I mean, both teams looking to get that signature win in the non-conference. ACC SEC matchup. You always want to get that one.
Hmm.
So obviously you want to be, of course, you want to go into that Texas game 3-0 for I guess, the who's the real UT game uh, on the 26th there. You know, if you're Tennessee, you're kind of pissed off. That's an 11 a.m. game on the 26th.
Yeah.
I'd want a game against Texas. I guess I have to look to see what the rest of the schedule is that day. Why that game is so early in the daytime. But um, either way, Knoxville will be live for that one. Um, I mean, if you do drop that one, not the biggest thing in the world, then you have two games you have to win if you're a contender
Hmm.
before the Alabama game. You got to beat Auburn. You got to beat Arkansas team that's probably at the bottom of the conference. Then, of course, Alabama team you've been two times in a row in Knoxville, so you're feeling good at home against the Tide. That unbeatable feeling is gone in the series, so you're looking to go for a third straight there. And then it's up and down after that. I mean, South Carolina, Kentucky, those are two you feel good. You got to win those. At A&M, that's a tough one, of course. And then the last two also very tough. I mean, LSU is going to be tough. And then at Vanderbilt, a team that mollywopped you last year. And,
Hmm.
and really, it's a lot more hatred than you would think in that rivalry. The fan bases do not like each other. Schools don't like each other.
Hmm.
Maybe, and if Vanderbilt keeps on being good at football, it really enhances that rivalry even more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough close those last 3 games. But
Very
yeah, I
tough.
think they're another one. I'm not sure if they're playoff SEC title contender with breaking a new quarterback, but who knows? There's talent on the roster, and if things break right, like you said, they get their biggest games they get at home.
Yeah. We know
All those road games are probably should wins outside of A&M.
yeah.
Um,
You got to
but
beat Arkansas. Yeah, I
yeah.
mean Arkansas, South Carolina,
Hmm.
at Vandy. I mean,
I think the Georgia Tech, the out of conference game with no Haynes King, they're breaking a new quarterback. I think you need to win that one.
yeah, you don't want. I don't
Yeah.
think you want to lose that one
Yeah,
to.
I think absolutely should match last year's win total 8 games, if not 9, and threaten to
Yeah,
win 10 games, and then you are in the playoff discussion. Um,
impressive
but
enough that
yeah,
Tennessee has had. They're going for their fourth straight 1,000-yard rusher with a different running back
mm,
every time.
crazy.
So, because as
Um,
much as you think about them being a high-powered throwing the ball, they run the ball pretty effectively. So,
yeah, they get Deshaun Bishop in, and they bring in a transfer from Tulane to Javin Gordon there in the room. Um, see a decent running back room there. Um, And like we said, yeah, schedule has some favorable moments for them.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's talk about. Let's see next what I have on their list. One of their rivals. Let's talk about the Florida Gators breaking in, like you said, coach that's won the offseason, John Sumrall. Um,
Seems to be the right guy for Florida. I
yeah,
think
very
for
disappointing season last year with the talent they had around DJ Lagway and the team, Billy Napier. Let it go to waste. Started with that USF loss and didn't get any better. Lost to LSU, brutalized by Miami for the second straight year. Did get that Texas win, but then couldn't really capitalize on that. Um, so yeah, Billy Napier's out. John Summerall's in from Tulane. Aaron Philo comes in at quarterback from Georgia Tech. Um,
he comes out with his uh, offensive coordinator as well, Buster
yeah,
Faulkner,
yeah,
coming
brings
with him.
him in. They get a great transfer from Eric Singleton from Auburn coming in at receiver. Or and he'll he reunites with his old you mentioned offense coordinator when he played at Georgia Tech. So um, I think definitely this could be one of the most improved teams in the country. Um, gotta improve on the O line. I think that's going to be a question mark on offense. Defensively on that back end, maybe.
Yeah, but
Um, you want to see
really,
teams, yeah.
yeah, they have to be way more disciplined. That's was
Hmm.
the biggest thing during the Billy Napier. They were very undisciplined. A lot of
Hmm.
unnecessary flags, a lot of bad situations. I mean, that's how they lost USF last year. Was the bad they all them
Hmm.
penalties and killed them. Um,
Yeah, and
but
that's.
interesting game that week three, two new guys to the SEC.
Hmm.
Um, trying to make their mark there at Auburn. So I mean, that's going to be a huge game for both teams. Probably most kind of an underrated, under talked about game there, but I think very interesting. Auburn, Florida, and the Plains at night.
Yeah, man.
And you
Always a
over
great
the years,
rivalry, great traditional rivalry. Yeah, that has produced a lot of
underrated.
great games. Yeah.
Doesn't happen probably nearly enough, but we've seen some wild ones in that one over the
Hmm.
years. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. And then you follow.
who knows? Who knows what that'll be at that point? A, Florida State will be much better, or B, Florida State's so dead at that point that it's a easy thing. I think Florida has enough to at least go bowling this year. Of course, you look at it, FAU, Campbell, 2 wins there. You would have to think, but you have to win the Kentucky game, one that's got a little tough over the years. I mean, you got to beat South Carolina. Um, Florida State, maybe Vanderbilt, maybe Auburn. I mean,
Yeah, but yeah, it's all there for Florida to. Uh, I think they can flip their record. I think they can go 8-4 this year, or something like that. And like you said, get back to a bowl. And I do think the Summerall hire is a good hire there.
if you're between 6-6 and 8-4, I think you've had a pretty good year one in Gainesville, and the people, another fan base that sometimes been unrealistic as of late because of the past history, would actually probably be happy with that. So,
Hmm. Yeah, let's move on to my last wild card here. Vandy.
yeah,
Talked about Vanderbilt. It's a new day in Nashville. Clark Lee has really changed the culture of that program. Tough program, and of course, now the big thing is it are they more than just Diego Pavia? Do they have the talent throughout the team? Maybe matching last year's 10 wins will be obviously a really tough task,
yeah.
but they were able to get in Jared Curtis, excuse me, in at quarterback, 5-star, just the biggest recruit in Vandy history.
I mean, I mean, it's a wild day to still think that they outdid Georgia for a recruit of that caliber. I mean,
Absolutely
doesn't
insane.
matter.
So
Doesn't matter
yeah,
what you say about Georgia wasn't interested anymore, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't matter. That's unheard of.
yeah.
So it shows you what
And
how
he
different
yeah.
IL world and portal and everything
And
and
he's
stuff.
it's crazy. And he's been with the team. He actually was in the bowl practices last year, enrolled
Yeah.
early. So
That's,
um
some
Definitely think that they can get back to a bowl for sure. Schedule, has its quirks. They got to go at Auburn, at Georgia early on,
yeah,
host Ole Miss after that. That November is kind of tough. You got at State, then you host Alabama, then at Florida, and then host Tennessee.
yeah,
But I think there's at least 6 wins in that schedule there, and they can get back. They can stay bowling.
yeah.
Um,
The interesting non-conference game, the 19th, there, NC State.
yeah, that's a good one. I think that'll be a good litmus test for both teams early on.
Both teams. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you would think you would. Yeah, I mean, you see, obviously, you beat Austin P, you beat Delaware. NC State's a toss-up. You would think right now it's at Auburn, but there's a lot of question. I don't know if they beat Auburn again, but you think they could. You're not shocked if they beat Auburn again. Georgia, I'm not gonna. Georgia, Ole Miss, I'm gonna say L's. But you had the Arkansas game, the Kentucky game, Mississippi State.
Mhm.
That I mean, you're looking at depending on the Auburn game, go 5 or 6 wins there, and then Tennessee's gonna be a toss up at the end. I think we catch them. Um, I, and then at Florida, I think is a toss up just because who knows about Florida as well. But it's in the swamp. But at that point of the season, so far it's hard. It's easy to on paper. It's easy to talk about it, but things could be so different in November for both teams. It's kind of
Mhm.
hard to look at it, but you know, you could see anywhere. I would say from 8 wins to probably 6-6 is probably where they're at. Just because I mean the schedule's tough. They're bringing in a new quarterback, seeing if they can. Now they may, for the first time ever, maybe there's a little pressure to win it, Vanderbilt.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's a weird thing, but yeah, it's some pressure to if they
No
don't
two,
make a
two
bowl game,
straight,
they
no two
can't
straight.
revert back. Yeah, can't revert back to old Vanderbilt.
They got their new stadium.
Hmm.
It looks pretty sleek. They've actually had games now where they have the home field advantage, which was
Hmm.
a point never seen in Nashville. People are interested in Vandy football consistently for the first time maybe ever. So Clark Lee came back to his alma mater and has done stuff that most people could have only dreamed of so far. Let's see if he can
Hmm.
continue. It's a tough road to hold, but if anybody's going to do it at Vanderbilt, it's going to be that guy.
Yeah. Um, yeah, let's move on to my basement tier. Again, these doesn't necessarily mean that we think these teams are going to be terrible. It just means we don't really see a road for them to contend for the conference title. We'll start it off with Missouri. Mainly have this because they just lost so much on defense. I think they lost like all 11 starters or something crazy like that. They really just lost so much, and that's so tough.
No,
They bring in Austin Simmons, quarterback transfer from Ole Miss. That'll be interesting there. Of course, Ahmad Hardy in discussion as best running back in the country. Of course, he's recovering from being shot in the offseason. So,
that's
uh,
crazy.
yeah, they expect him to make a full recovery, but still, that's it's in crazy. Um, they
The
do have a
schedule's
tough
crazy.
schedule this year, though.
So,
They get Border War week 2, a little Friday action at Kansas. Great rivalry to have back.
yeah,
Hopefully, it stays around.
absolutely.
Um, and then they go that October is pretty brutal for them. Uh, they host Florida, then host A&M, then they got to go on the road to Ole Miss. They get a bye, then they on the road to Arkansas. Um,
And then
before it gets even tougher in November, you got Texas at Georgia, then Kentucky comes home, so there's a break there, and then you end the season with Oklahoma and that old Big Eight rivalry. Um, yeah, so just the losses on D combined with that schedule, I just see Missouri dropping down a bit this year, and I think they'll struggle to get to a bowl.
yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, obviously they've kind of overachieved the last couple of years. Some easier schedules, um, and their biggest thing, even when they've had good years, they can't beat the big dogs.
Hmm.
A couple years ago when they got blown out by A&M, they got blown out by us. I mean, obviously their biggest win, of course, was that game against Ohio State on paper, but Ohio State was missing a lot of people that day.
Hmm.
So who knows? I mean, their coach is probably one of the most interesting in the league there. Just he's a weird guy. He's
Hmm.
kind of in that. He's kind of taking the Pirates role as far as a quirky dude that says a lot of weird shit. Interesting interview, knows a lot of stuff outside of football. Would never think he was a football coach if you saw him anywhere else in the world. Quirky dude, one of those weird geniuses. Probably got like a 150 ace, a 150 IQ. Probably ace the ACT or something. It just seems like that type of guy. Funny dude too, but yeah, it's a brutal schedule, man. If he, you think maybe, man, I think they could get to six. I mean, I see a path for six. Of course,
Yeah.
you gotta be, of course, you beat Pine Bluff. You gotta win the border war. You beat Troy, um, which is maybe Troy is better. They've you got to beat State. You beat Arkansas and you beat Kentucky. That's how you get to your six.
Yeah.
For a toss-up game. But the rest, you have to right now think they don't win those games. You don't think they beat A&M. You saw what happened the last time they put A&M. Of course, that was at College Station, but A&M wrecked them when they went in undefeated into that game. But you do get that game at home. You're going to Ole Miss. Uh, you get Texas at home, but that still should be a great Texas team. On paper, you don't think you win that game, and then I don't see them beating Georgia. OU, I mean, they probably get up for that game. OU sometimes plays with their food, so maybe closer than, and they've had some weird ones in that rivalry all time. But you would think, man, anything beyond six this year probably a hell of a season for them.
Yeah.
And well, seven is possible. Eight is a stretch, I think, this year. So they take a little step back because they've been for approximately almost 10 wins the last 3 years. And they have 10, 10, and 9 in their last 3 years. So it's been a good run there for them. But, man, it's a drink has them in a good spot. But this year is a tough schedule.
Yeah, like I said, that schedule and then just the losses on defense, I think, make it tough. But
Hardy doesn't
let's
come back and be the guy that he was. That's another question mark.
yeah, exactly, man. And we wish him, of course, full recovery. And
Yeah, a hell of
um,
a season.
but let's move. Let's go to Starkville, Mississippi State. Jeff Levy trying to find his footing. It's been a rough go of hitting his first couple years. Only one SEC victory so far in his tenure. Of course, got that late last year at Arkansas. They had a bunch of other chances. Of course, had that early season upset of Arizona State. I
Could be
mean, overtime loss against Tennessee.
Texas.
Had should have beaten Florida in the swamp. Took Texas to overtime. Probably should have won that game.
They were up
Um,
two touchdowns in the fourth quarter, weren't they, against Texas?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely a game they should have won. But I think they can threaten to make a bowl game this year. Not sure if they'll get there, but I mean, interesting week 2 game. They go up to Minnesota for a non-conference game.
in that one.
Uh, yeah, then they come back to go to South Carolina the next week. Then they host Missouri and then Alabama. Um, and then they got just a really brutal October, man. So you got Alabama bye week at LSU, Oklahoma at Texas, and then you follow that up with Vanderbilt coming to town the next week. So it's tough to if you look at that to find 6 wins. I mean, UL Monroe, you got to think that's a win. Let's say they can get the better of Minnesota. They get Tennessee Tech late in the year. That's 3, and then after that, you're like, sure they can beat South Carolina. Sure they can beat Missouri, but
Do
they're
that.
not gimmies. They're not gimmies.
I love everybody. I mean, we saw hints of greatness last year. Kamario Taylor seems to be the real deal, a quarterback, now a sophomore.
Yeah.
Amazing. I'm sure it was probably hard to keep him in Starkville. I'm sure he had a lot of
Hmm.
colleges to try to get him out of there. But he showed great. So he's the guy. I'm sure Jeff Levy loves. loves what he brings and can put a great offense around him. But yeah, that schedule is something serious. Um, but
Yeah, the main thing is, yeah, can they keep improving? Because last year they were competitive in all those games we talked about.
now you have the one good
It's
win.
just about, yeah, getting over the hump and trying to get turn one of those into a dub, man.
To
Even just
finish,
one of them,
to finish.
that's huge. You know, you get like we said, it's a brutal schedule, but you get Oklahoma coming to town, you get Vanderbilt coming to town. So you know, if you know the Egg Bowl is
Mhm.
the Egg Bowl, so it's always crazy. You know, there's a chance for them to jump up and bite somebody.
Yep.
Um,
Really,
and yeah.
yeah, you of course, man, you would love to see them get to a bowl game.
But
Uh,
it's tough to find it on that schedule.
it is tough. But, yeah, because I mean, there's a couple of toss-up games, of course. South Carolina, I'd say, is a toss-up game. Even Minnesota's kind of a toss-up game. Minnesota's
Yeah, for
a
sure.
real solid team, but you could see that one going either way. You see South Carolina going either way. Even the Missouri game at home could go either way. Um, but man, if they somehow go into that October 3rd at home, undefeated, but Alabama coming to town, them
Mm.
Cowboys are going to be going absolutely crazy.
They're gonna be ringing. Now, granted, as an Alabama fan, I love that because it seems like every time State has had some big unbeaten or they
You know,
get up,
we,
that's when we get them,
we beat the
put them
hell
in
out of
their
them.
yeah, we put
Absolutely.
them in their place. But
But I mean, that's probably a little wishful thinking coming out of Starkville. It's
mhm.
possible that they go into that game undefeated. They could also be 1-3 easily. They could be 2-2. I mean, even if you go into Alabama 3-1, I think you really done well. Maybe even 2-2 is decent. But if you were to pull September and go into that game undefeated, that's just huge for the program.
Yeah, that'd absolutely be huge. And like we said, it's about continuing to
Yeah.
improve, and they
Yeah,
look so
but
much better last year than they
who,
did 2 years
who
ago.
gave them this October? Who gave
That's
this
so mean. It's so
October?
mean.
Like, golly, I mean, you Alabama at home, but then, the Battle of '82 is back, and I like that, right? I mean, I don't know if you really call it a rivalry. I mean, it's been one sided, but I mean, it has a lot of history.
But yeah, but we played them more than any other team outside of
Any good
Tennessee, I
team
think. Yeah.
is the closest rivalry in the SEC. I mean, it's
Mhm.
80 some miles, so I mean, it's right there. Obviously, the fan bases know each other well. But man, but that brutal, man. Alabama at you get a bye week, then you go to Starkville. I'm assuming then you go to Baton Rouge, then you come home. But it's the next week. It's no matter what happens, you don't have bye weeks in between LSU, Oklahoma, Texas. Boom, boom, boom. I mean,
Yeah,
and
it's
two of
just
them are road
brutal.
games. Yeah, so that's tough. Of course, November eases up a little bit. I mean, Vanderbilt. I mean, you think that's L right now, but we'll see how that goes. Auburn, I would say, is a toss-up game right now. Or I guess you would give a slight advantage to Auburn just because it's Auburn. I don't know, but that's a game you kind of have to win if you're. It's a home game. You gotta I think you have to beat Vandy or Auburn at home eh, to really show that you're kind of coming around. You have to get at
Yeah.
least those. Of course, Tennessee Tech, you would think the easy win. And the Egg Bowl, probably not, but we've seen some wild ones there. So,
I'm about to say, yeah, never know what's going on there. All right, two more teams down here, both breaking in new coaches. We'll start Kentucky. Will Stein coming over from Oregon.
yeah,
Um, he's excited about his team. He really says he likes what he has. It's going to be tough though. They lost a lot of guys. I think they only have 5 starters back overall,
yeah.
and then a tough schedule there too. I mean,
No,
starts week 2 you get Alabama at home, but then you got to go at A&M the next week. You go at South Carolina. Another rough October at South Carolina, home for LSU, at Oklahoma, home for Vandy. Then you get a bye, and then it's at Tennessee, home for Florida, and at Missouri, and then home for Louisville rivalry game. Who the Cardinals have flipped that around in recent years.
Yeah,
A couple, two straight blowout wins after a frustrating time when Kentucky was a thorn in Louisville's side.
yeah. For a while they were
But
running the rivalry, but
yeah,
I mean, it's a tough. It could be a tough. I mean, obviously, I think he has the confidence of who you want in that. He, you know, obviously he's had great offenses at Oregon. He brings that to the Kentucky. Has a decent quarterback there. Kenny Minchie, the transfer from Notre Dame.
yeah, I
Uh,
think that's a big pickup because that's a guy that a lot of people thought could or maybe even should have won the battle with CJ Carr. So that
yeah, but
might be a sneaky steal there for Will Stein in
originally they thought
Kentucky.
he was. I mean, originally he was going to Nebraska and then
Hmm.
Kentucky with him last second. So that might be a good match. But yeah, the schedule is brutal. The expectations are high. Obviously, Mark Stoops took them to levels that were unprecedented in Lexington on the gridiron, but things kind of went haywire at the end. It kind of fell off a little bit. Um, but Will Stein seemed. I mean, he has a connection to Kentucky.
Hmm.
He knows he knows the area well. So I think
Yep, played at
he,
Louisville for
you
those
know,
unfamiliar. Yeah.
he's a good fit. I think he's a high energy guy, young guy. But yeah, it's just a lot to expect from a guy in year one. I mean,
Yeah, it's tough with their losses in that schedule.
if
We'll
they
see, but like you say, you just want to see him instill his culture there, and
be competitive in some games, scare some people, maybe
yeah,
pull off an upset here or there. Um, you
and
know,
develop. They're a young team, man. So there's a chance that if they can keep them together past this year, they can really build on something there. So
because really it seemed like Kentucky kind of fell apart. They were really going there with, and then they went kind of started going that transfer route. Let's bring a transfer quarterback, and that
hmm
the program, and that really didn't go that well in Lexington, and that kind of ended the whole Stoops tenure. He's kind of
hmm
bringing transfer guys and not his own guys, and that kind of I thought really hurt the program. Set up, but he still was excellent for what Kentucky was before he got there. You always have to give that man his kudos because he got him to 10-win seasons a couple of times, and you had to take Kentucky a little bit serious. So,
yeah,
but
for sure.
Bill Stein's think he's overall should be good, but man, it's a tough thing. It's tough to win in Kentucky overall. Yeah, you just have to be able to keep those guys at home there. Um,
Yeah, it's tough to win, but like we said, they might have a steal there at quarterback.
it's
Um,
possible to win in Kentucky, as we've seen in some with Stoops, but it's also hard. It's never easy, and man, this schedule is brutal. I think the Wildcat fans probably looking to basketball season sooner than later, but sneaky though when Kentucky's playing. That Kroger Field is sneaky, a tough environment.
it really is. It's a weird place, man. You talk to some people up there, and they swear it's like haunted. Like it's a it's a weird place. But yeah, it's going to be a rough year for them, and it's just about
Yeah.
building toward next year and building toward the future. Last team here, definitely a team that lost a lot of players and definitely rebuilding. You're another school that'll be looking toward basketball season pretty early. But Arkansas, they bring in Ryan Silverfield from Memphis.
The
And
bad thing
oddly,
is fans aren't
I
even
don't,
they didn't even want him.
I was about to say, I don't think a lot of fans are really excited about him.
Remember that Golish, and then he pulled last. Remember for what they ran across it, Golish was going to Fayetteville, and then they had to pull that back, and then he went to Auburn, and then
Yeah, they're
they settled
even,
for.
yeah, they even flirted with hiring Kane Womack for a second. It looked like, of course, Bama fans glad he stayed in Tuscaloosa. They do have a talented quarterback. KJ Jackson is talented back there. He just doesn't have a lot around him, and like we said, they lost a lot. Uh,
They had
tough
a lot of
schedule.
time last year for as bad as they were last year. I
Yeah,
mean,
and they had their moments. It was just weird. They had the two big wins. They scored 50 plus in their first two games. Gave Ole Miss everything they wanted. They only lost late in that game. They were driving and fumbled it. Could have won that game late. Um, also a lost fumble late and a loss at Memphis, and then that kind of broke them because the
yeah,
next week Notre
that
Dame came to town and just. I
throttled.
mean, Jeremiah Love, I think, had 4 touchdowns in the first half or something crazy. It was just embarrassing how easily Notre Dame moved the ball early and
Mm,
um, won that game, and that was it. A 2-10 season for Arkansas, and they really weren't that competitive. I guess they did. They were pretty competitive against Tennessee the next week after that. I guess Petrino gave them a little bump when he took over. They put a scare in A&M. Um,
they always do in that game.
yeah, it's
That game is
true.
always.
Yeah, but other than that, against the teams, like tough, they're blown out at Texas. They really didn't.
Yeah,
It's going to be another rough year. I mean, it starts week 2. They got a tough out of conference game. They go at Utah. They go out to Salt Lake
yeah,
City.
never,
Um, and
never
then
a
turn
place you want to go if you're rebuilding.
no, and then you turn around and Georgia comes to town next week.
Yeah,
They're October. They go at A&M, home for Tennessee, at Vanderbilt. And then you end the season with at Texas and then LSU. So it's going to be another rough year for
yeah,
Arkansas fans, unfortunately, but we'll see. It's just interesting. It's going to be one to watch because, like I said, I really haven't seen much about any Arkansas fans excited about Ryan Silverfield. So,
no. And I
um,
think the expectations were so low. Um,
yeah,
I don't think people are already looking to basketball and what John Calipari is going to be. But they yeah, just a tough couple of years there. Of course, the the coach. Damn, Sam Pittman seemed like a hell
yeah,
of a guy. I mean, someone you would definitely want to hang out with, drink beers with.
yeah,
Our great offensive line coach when he was at Georgia, maybe a little over his head as the head coach. They had their
hmm
moments. I mean, it seemed like he had turned the table there. Had some weird losses that they probably should have never had in the past. We look at like that. Was it the 2024 season? He had that bad loss against Oklahoma State. That second week of this,
mm,
they definitely
yeah,
should have won. I mean, they've had some games against Texas A&M and Jury's World where they should have won. They had the weird one where they knocked off Tennessee that the weekend in 2024, which is crazy. But overall, I mean, it was a lot of hit and miss there, and really, I mean, this Arkansas fan base, they're a great fan base. They have some football history. They want to win games. Right now, I think they're just so low. They're very they just don't know what to expect. I don't think there's much interest in the season, honestly. That's something you don't see a lot in Fayetteville. I don't, I've heard, different fans talk about it off and on different places on social media or shows, and no one's no one's excited about football at all in Fayetteville, which is not normal. So I don't
no, yeah,
what they
it's crazy
expect
to think.
this year. Um, obviously last year was brutal, so you would hope it gets better from there. But there's not a lot of spots where you see it getting better from there. Obviously you have to win that week 1 against Northern Alabama. North Alabama, you have to look good in that one, uh, and you have to win that Tulsa game. Uh,
Hmm
you know, the
And
A&M game has been weird.
that's the only two I really see as wins, though. Other than that, it's tough to me to find even a toss up. I mean, maybe
I
depending on
mean,
how some of those other first year goes, maybe at Auburn, maybe Auburn doesn't
yeah.
click the
I
way
mean,
some people think. I don't know.
your chances of SEC wins on paper is going to be in that Vandy, Mizzou, Auburn, South Carolina stretch. All
Yeah, yeah.
teams, you probably, man, all t- I went. They're probably what you would have to think that they're underdog in all those games there, um, and you don't know where they win. But they're gonna get an SEC win this year. It's gonna have to be in that range there. You would think.
Hmm. Yeah, it's going to be tough, but
I mean, you just hope, yeah. So stay patient, Arkansas fans. I'm sorry, it's gonna be a long year. Hopefully, he figures things out, and maybe they pull an upset or two. But man, yeah, overall,
yeah,
not
that's
a
yeah.
hog,
Look
not
to
a hog,
basketball season. Yeah,
not a lot of hog calling going on. But hey, basketball season should be fun. Baseball, softball season should be decent. So you have things to look forward to as a Arkansas sports fan. But yeah, football is not one of them. I don't think, unfortunately.
no, yeah. Don't think so, but yeah, that's it for our SEC preview, man. That's our teams. Should be a great year. The switch to 9 conference games, I like it.
Yep,
Definitely going to add some more drama
it does. I mean,
to the
after
schedule.
one more loss on the season,
Yeah,
so maybe that
exactly, and
either
uh,
a helps somebody or hurts somebody.
yeah,
Um,
and I
you know,
think it's more wide open than people think. I think too many people are assuming it's Georgia and Texas, and
I
while
mean,
I'm not saying they're certainly up there, and that
I
we
mean,
definitely could be headed toward that. I think there's
there's
uh
reasons why you would think that. I mean,
yeah
obviously, the
yeah
talent of Texas, the history of Georgia. I mean, why wouldn't
mhm,
you have those two at the top? But there's other teams that are going to give them a run. Obviously, LSU, Lane Kiffin, kind of a wild card, but there's a lot of talent. Expect big things. We're a wild card, but it's Alabama. You expect a solid season. A&M. I mean, there's a lot, like you had said. I mean, it's 6, 7 teams that can make the playoffs, but how many teams can actually get in this year is a thing.
mhm,
I mean, last year the SEC got five. Can they get five again? Very well, could get five. Could be
mhm.
four. Two teams that may, there's going to be a couple of good 9-3 teams like last year. Texas being left out that are good teams. They're just not going to be able to make that playoff field because it's hard to make that
Mm.
12 field depending on how the rest of the country goes. So, but
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely
fun
going to
year,
be
fun
and,
year in the
and
SEC.
yeah, the big thing for SEC headquarters would be can they get back to a national title?
Absolutely.
Yeah, a
Three, three,
contention. Yeah,
three Big Ten titles in a row, man. The thing has
yeah,
changed
mm,
as
yeah,
far as that. Obviously,
mhm,
conference to conference, I think the SEC is better top to bottom.
mhm.
The titles speak loudly. I mean, kind of when we
Yeah,
were on
right.
our run,
Yeah,
titles speak
yeah,
above everything else.
exactly. Right now, the elite teams are elsewhere in the Big Ten, but as we often say, we really don't care about the rest of the SEC. The only team we want to see win is Alabama. Uh,
Absolutely.
But yeah, that does it for our Alabama and SEC preview, folks. We'll be back next week. We'll do our predictions. Um, a quick reminder: I don't think we actually did a prediction episode last year. I think we just did them on paper. But
Yeah.
we'll pick our for the Power Four conferences. We'll pick our winner. Who beats who in a title game, and then we'll do a surprise team and the team we think will disappoint. And then we'll just throw out a winner for the rest of the conferences. And then we'll do, I think we do the same thing for the playoff. We do who we think is going to win the national title, who we think will be a surprise team, who will disappoint, and then a Heisman winner, I think, too. And then, of course, I got last year's predictions on record. I think it was a rough year last year for us, but
Yeah, I know mine. Mine was,
yeah,
yeah.
brutal. Yeah. Yeah, unless you got anything else to add.
I guess the only other thing is this new thing that they were really talking about on the college sports radio on like XM. Then the big talk is that them 2022 guys that got that 50 year.
Yeah, man. Yeah, some guys that literally just played in NFL preseason
Yeah.
games. It's kind of
And if they
crazy
let
there.
that if they let that slide and they can come back and play and they never get overturned, someone owes Charles Bediako an apology.
Absolutely, man. I'm sick of seeing all these other teams do that, but everyone's still focusing on Chuck, man. Like,
Especially, I mean, what's his name from LSU, Pyburn. When did he
mhm.
have two? He has 2 sacks in the preseason. Obviously, you would think he probably makes the team and stays in Tampa, but I mean, that's a possibility. He could right as of right now come back. But it's a risk both ways because I mean, if you get cut from the NFL, which is a possibility, I mean, do you want to come back or do you want to go to the league? B, you come back to college and in the middle of the season they rule you ineligible like they did Bediako, then you're kind of stuck in a weird situation. So I don't know if you want to risk it because I mean, obviously an injunction doesn't guarantee permanent. So it's
Yeah, it's
weird.
yeah, it's a weird thing, man. I don't know. And
I mean,
do you actually get more money coming back to college than you would
crazy.
landing on a practice squad somewhere?
I mean, what is it like? What is it like? Maybe 250 or something. And like, I
Yeah,
mean, some of those guys in college probably pulling a million. Who knows?
yeah. Who knows?
But
But
is it
yeah,
a risk
it's
you want to take? Does that hurt your NFL legacy? And then at some point, the NFL is going to step in and be like, listen, their lawyers are going to get involved. And I don't know how that goes because they're going to be like, "Look, we're the big dogs. Like, well, what are you doing going back to
yeah,
college?
right.
You
Yeah.
have a say in that as
Uh,
well. So it's
but
not
see, yeah, the
it's
NFL does
a little
not play
different
that
than
shit.
G League guys. It's not. It's a little different than Bediako in a G League. I mean, the NBA probably not that care that much about what happens with a G League guy, but there's no G League in the NFL. You're either the NFL or you're not. And if you're gonna be an NFL dude, it's a bad look to you if you go back to college. So they're definitely gonna be a pushback from that NFL front office. They're not gonna let that slide. So we're going to be so interested if anybody actually does it, and if they do, what happens with it. But we'll see if anybody actually does it or not. It's risk both ways, but it'd be interesting how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hopefully eventually all this
But
shit gets
hopefully
figured out. But yeah.
get on the field so we can stop talking about lawsuits and all this.
Yeah, right. We're
All
so
this
close. We're so close to getting back on the field. But yeah, like we said, folks, we'll be back next week. Prediction episode. Of course, we'll talk about anything that happens in the world of sports this week. Um, other than that, Greg, buddy, I'll see you then.
yep, we'll do it then.
Thank you once again for listening, folks. As always, subscribe, rate, like us, do whatever your chosen podcast platform asks you to do. Tell your friends about us. Tell your rich friends about us, especially if any of them feel like sponsoring a podcast. You can check out all of the family of Alabama Take podcast at thealabamatake.com. You can also find a bunch of wonderful writings there from our lovely, talented roster of contributors. If you'd like to join that roster, shoot an email to thealabamatake@gmail.com. Blaine will get you set up. We're always looking for new voices here on the Alabama Take. You can check out Greg at Bama Hammer. He writes a lot about Alabama women's basketball there and other Alabama athletics. You can follow us on socials at Taken on Sports. Of course, drop that G. And as always, folks, keep it done up real good yourselves out there.